And I think we're live.
Hi.
Hi, Kyle. Yes, you got the reminder. And I hope you remember. Well, first of all, I'm just going to check to make sure that we're on. The reminder. And I hope you remember. We're on. I'm just going to check to make sure that we're. I need to stop that. So, Kyle, if you're here,
Hey, Kyle.
I hope you've had a good couple of weeks and that you're taking care. And we're going to be doing our worst music festival lineups of all time. And I think different people have approached this differently. And we'll wait for a few minutes for people to show up so that we can have a number of people here. Kyle, you're here. We were just saying how there's I think a number of people. No, I mean a few people. Hey James, hi.
Hey, James.
Hi. We're going to be doing or we're going to be sharing our worst music festival lineups.
Yeah.
And I think a few people are actually pretty excited about this. And they're putting some effort into it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. From the sounds of it, like, it's crazy.
And so I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to wait a few minutes until
more people show up.
Some more people show up. But Kyle and James, if you have your lineup for the music festival, if you have any questions about it, I'd be more than happy. We'd be more than we can answer them. So far, I know that
Beaver Fest.
Beaver Fest. I was wondering whether or not Justin Bieber might show up. And we have I think another person too. And if as people come in, if they can say hi, that would be great. We're going to be doing we're going to be sharing and comparing and contrasting each of our worst music festivals that we can put together. And I think it'll be interesting because I think that we have an eclectic bunch of folks.
Yeah.
JPS is here, and he is. I can't believe that you would have forgotten Beaver. Up here, it's Beaver Mania right now in Canada because of there's Tim Hortons, and they're doing something called Tim.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I was wondering why I saw his picture there. I'm like, I was getting coffee, and I'm like, what's this about?
Yeah. And there is something like Tim Hortons related, and there's Sue. Hello, I'm gonna say S. Hello, S. Even though everybody just heard me say your name. Thank you for joining us. And if you'd also like to participate in this or just follow along, I think this will be kind of fun.
Or leave a comment
or whatever it might be. So
hey, Kathy.
Yay, yeah, Tim. So Kathy actually got some today. So we were just saying how JPF was saying that he had forgotten to include a certain beaver in his lineup. But we were saying that in Canada right now we are having some Tim Beeve fever with these Timbits. I don't really know what they're about. Kathy got some today. She sent me a picture. So I think you get like Timbits and some other stuff, right, Kathy? Like, is it like you seem there seems to be like some kind of like merch attached to it or something like that. If you could let us know, that would be funny because I have no idea what's going on with that. But there are some people who are trying to sell the stuff online for like $1 million or some crap like that. That's ridiculous. I don't understand. Like, that's not a thing. I can't see anybody actually buying them for $1 million. But Kathy, you might have a bit of an income stream if that's something that you might be interested in pursuing, is like buying a bunch of like Tim Beeves and disseminating them, because apparently it's a big thing right now. But yeah, so today we are going to be doing our list.
Should we talk about how we came up with this idea to do a list, or I mean, it was kind of spur of the moment.
What was just
we were getting gas.
Yeah. But I asked Kathy about the Timbits. So he has 3 flavors. They're pretty tasty, but not unlike the standard Timbits. I imagine that they won't be like
Are they purple inside?
too
Isn't
different.
that his thing? He's into purple.
Ian's is into purple.
No, uh, Justin Bieber, isn't he into purple? Isn't that his like logo and stuff?
He has a logo.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know anything about Justin Bieber apart from the fact that he's Canadian
That's all I know, and I know
and that he has Tim
he's
Beeves.
yeah, and I know that he threw up on
He
stage.
threw up on stage. Whoa, that would be a good thing to have on your
Don't you
bad,
remember
your
that?
worst.
Like it
No,
was on TMZ or something.
no.
He was doing a concert and he's jumping around and he literally just made himself throw up on stage
I'm
in
sure
front
he
of
didn't
everybody.
make himself throw.
No, he didn't mean to, but he did.
That would be awful. But no, I didn't know anything. Oh, so define Timbits. This is very like so
Canadian.
we have some American folks. So even though you guys have Tim Hortons, I guess you don't know what Timbits are. They're the donut,
Balls.
the
It's
middle
the
of
middle of the donut.
donut.
So it's
They call them Timbits.
Timbits. Yeah,
So
because in the States they have Dunkin' Donuts.
yeah, but they
That
also
are
have they have like middle of the donuts. What are they? Donut holes? Donut
donut
holes.
holes.
Uh, I would imagine that's what they're called, right? Kathy says that the yeah. So Kathy is like yeah, donut holes. So okay. So firstly, the Tim Beeves are chocolate white fudge, birthday cake waffle, and sour cream chocolate chip. That's interesting.
Birthday cake waffle. That just sounds really
That's very strange.
sickening. Like the combo is.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to imagine. I would think that it's just a waffle with like frosting and
Mhm.
sprinkles on top, right? Chocolate white fudge. I mean, that's pretty classic. Sour cream chocolate chip.
Oh,
That's
they had munchkins. Sorry.
oh
I've heard of that.
okay.
Munchkins.
Yeah, aka donut holes. Hey kiddo. Yeah, so that's so that I think but Kathy, I think that it you also got some kind of merch, right? Along with um your Tim Beef stuff. Because it looks like there's like it's is it like a bag or something that it comes with? Um with the
Is there a
Timbits
picture of him?
on it. So Kathy says they literally taste like the original ones with some bits on top. I see. So they didn't really go really creative or anything like that. But anyway, that's part of the mania, which is
It's a mania.
Justin. No, honestly,
Okay.
there was an article
Alright.
today that I read where
It's a
they're
mania.
like, I'm like people are wanting to pay or they're trying to sell them for
Right.
$1 million, which is I mean
Isn't it like that BTS thing?
stupid.
Like
Oh, it's a fanny
McDonald's?
pack.
Oh, it's a fanny pack.
That's funny. A brown corduroy fanny pack. That's hilarious. I don't know why I think that's so funny, but I can't. And it's is it brown because he's a beaver? I don't know. That's so strange. But yeah.
He's not even on my list.
So I think so the whole it's supposed to be throwback to old school colors. That's
I
why.
see.
Okay. Again,
Like in the 70s, I guess Tim Hortons had that like really shit looking brown color. Like most places in
in
the
the
70s,
70s, the
like Burger
brown,
King, they had McDonald's, they had that shitty
brown,
brown,
orange, and yellow.
orange, yellow.
Yeah, that's those were the
Yeah.
70s colors
Yeah.
for sure.
We were watching just last night. We were watching a couple videos from George Harrison, and I haven't seen them before because they're from the 70s. Like he did a whatever promotional film, and he had really bad style. We were like, because he had this really weird fuzzy hair, this big like mustache. He looked like Doug Henning,
Anyone who looks like Doug
and
Henning is
he
like
was
Doug.
just wearing like, remember, he was wearing like big collars and like just shit brown, and like it was just, we've
Well,
never seen
that's the
those.
70s. I think
I
is
know,
like
but
crap
I've
brown.
never, you know,
Yeah.
we were both like, oh my god, that's a
A
bad
bad
look.
look, really bad look. And
Looks like Doug Henning.
I don't think they had stylists and like makeup and
No,
hair people when they
no, and
did
it was
those
like a
videos
perm, his
in the
hair,
70s.
like it was a long perm or something. It was, yeah, it's terrible, but check them out on YouTube.
But yeah, so it's great. Like we have a few people that have joined us, and we've talked about Justin Bieber for a little
Yes.
bit, and JPS. Well, first of all, yeah, let's talk about like how we came up with um,
This concert
this con.
list.
Well, so first, sometimes when we were just, I don't know, like waiting, we were waiting for gas. Actually, we
Yeah,
were in a
at
really long
Costco.
at Costco. We were in a really long lineup, and to kill the time, the suggestion that I had was that we could draft superheroes. So this was actually a draft that we had done, and the draft, as opposed to what we're doing tonight, is that we can take people, I guess, off the table. So like if you choose somebody, then other people wouldn't be able to choose them.
Mm-hmm.
So we went back and forth, and we had five. The idea is that if we can have five superheroes, that would be our superheroes to.
Who would you? What heroes would you take on a super team?
Yeah, and a super team
from both whatever universes.
Right. And so for me, I only know the TV, or no,
Marvel.
the Marvel, and also but the movies. So but if you took Superman, it would be all the Supermans, and if you took Batman, it would be all Batman, all that kind of stuff. So we decided to just draft while we're waiting for gas, our superheroes. And first, like before we do the music thing, I thought that we would just start off by sharing what our superhero lineups were, and if y'all out there be interested, clearly, like you weren't part of the draft, but who would be your five superheroes that would be on your team? Please share them, and we could just start off that way, and then we'll go right into our music, our worst music festival thing. So, did you want to start with your superhero lineup?
Yeah, I think I only picked five.
We only did five for
Yeah,
that.
so I picked Superman because he's good. He does the right thing. He's pretty much like a god, so you got to pick him. I picked Wonder Woman because she's got a good moral compass, and she's actually a god. So it's good. Who else did I pick? I picked the Silver Surfer because he's cosmic, and if you have a problem in space or whatever, he can fly out there and take um, care of it. So he's the cosmic portion of my team. I picked Wolverine because if you have a situation where you have to take someone down or kill somebody, he's the character to do it. Where if you had Spider Man or that, Spider Man doesn't kill or Batman doesn't kill. So I picked Wolverine, and I picked Mr. Fantastic because um, he's a scientist and he's one of the most brilliant minds in comic books. And whenever there's a big event or a problem, he usually solves the problem. Or
Reed Richards, right?
Reed Richards, yeah, of the Fantastic Four. Yeah.
So, so Joe once again was Superman, Wonder Woman,
Reed
Reed
Richards,
Richards,
Silver Surfer.
Wolverine.
Yeah, no order, just
No order, just well, they're all on his team. And Kyle has said Wonder Man, Vision, Superman, Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer.
Would be his five.
Off the top.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, and
very similar.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, actually.
Vision's an android.
Mm-hmm.
And Wonder Man is.
I don't know Wonder Man.
I know. I know of Wonder Man. I just. Um, it's a mutant, right?
So mine was Captain America for his moral compass. I have no female representation on my superhero list, and not so much also on my music festival list either, I noticed. Two is Doctor Strange. Three,
Because of magic.
because of
Right?
magic. Three is Shang-Chi from the movie, this recent movie, because of those 10 rings. I think those 10 rings are going to be a big deal. Four is Black Panther. And I think because of the technology and vibranium and
The army
the
and the
army, like
support
he's in
and so
terms of
forth.
like he's a better equipped Tony Stark, I think, and he's um, much more level-headed and disciplined. And five, and this is because for our dear friend of this of ours, Ryan Reynolds, Green Lantern,
Mm-hmm.
because space.
That one surprised me. I didn't think she would even have a DC character on her list, so that surprised me, that
Mm-hmm. So I'm eclectic. I'm not one-sided. So Kyle says Wonder Man is my favorite superhero, and I have a bunch of artist renderings of him as him displayed around my library. No, we watched a number of your videos, Kyle, and it's
one.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like your
Collection,
collection.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
so that's
Yeah.
incredible. So, if there's anybody else who wants to share their superhero lineup as well, just off the top of your head, I know that we're just kind of throwing it at you, but we'll get into our um, music festival stuff. If there is anybody else who might want to just throw in their superhero stuff. So, this is something that we do. I think like just to entertain ourselves sometimes, just to be like, what's your top this, or let's draft that. And I thought that this would be also be like an awesome thing for us to share with all you folks.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have any ideas for any future things that we could share, that would be really great too. Um, and Canada loves Ryan back. It's so true, and he's been all over the news the last couple of days because he's gotten, I think, the Governor General um, uh, accommodation, and yeah,
Does he even have a star on the Walk of Fame?
I think he's getting one this
Oh,
year or
okay.
something.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he should. I mean, he should. If there's anybody in Canada that should, it should be him. So I don't see any other superhero stuff. JPS, if you're, I mean, I wonder if there's anybody who wants to maybe start with their lineup, with their music festival lineup. Just to give you an update on how I'm doing really quickly. Um, I'm day 5 of my chemo recovery week, and today was a bit rough energy wise, and because when my energy is like dipped, I also find like mentally and emotionally I'm kind of in a tricky place. But I'm really glad that we're doing this today, because just being able to connect and just being able to have fun for me really helps me just to almost like recenter
Yay.
myself mentally and emotionally. So thank you all for being here and participating and doing this with us, because it means a lot to me and it does actually help me out a lot. Um, but apart from the fatigue, because the fatigue could be like really, like pretty crappy, and it does unfortunately correlate with my mood. It's like when I'm feeling really tired, I find that my mood goes to a place that's sort of like in a sad place and stuff. So um, I got a lot of rest today, so that's good. But I'm really glad that we're also doing this. So thank you so much for everybody, and to be here and to be participating and doing this with us today. So thank you. And I actually do see a number of other ones beyond the 1978 Superman movies. I don't delve far enough into superheroes to participate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Classic
Uh,
movie.
classic
I have
movie.
many
That
fond
I
memories of
I
that movie.
saw
Saw that in the theater as a
I
kid.
saw I thought I
And there was
saw.
one below, I think.
Is it? I don't see.
It's just below that. Did yeah?
No, I thought I
There
saw.
was a burn.
Yeah, I know, but I thought I
Oh,
saw.
okay. Hmm.
I know you don't have your name up, but I thought I saw S's list of superheroes, but I don't see them. So again, so if you did put one in, if you can re-put it in again so that I can share it. Otherwise, I did see Kyle ask, did you see Bearded Naked Ladies tribute song to Ryan for the presentation? Catchy as hell, yeah. That's
I didn't. Did you?
oh, I did, I did.
Oh, you did.
It's Steven though. It's
Stephen Page.
Stephen Page of the Bare Naked Ladies. They're no longer. He's no longer with the band, actually.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting
Story.
story
They
about
did
them.
reform like a couple years ago to do like a show. Like, I
Hmm.
think it was the Junos or something like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's not in the band
yeah. I think
anymore.
he ended up having like a really bad drug problem at
Yeah,
some point, and so they, even though he was one of the founding members and one of the like the lead vocalists,
kicked him out.
kicked them out of the band. And I think that he it's sort of like a little like Van Halen,
Well,
and
he
with Steven, with
yeah he
because I think he thought that he was going to be back in the band with them after the Juno thing,
yeah
but it didn't work
no
out. But
no
sorry, what were you going to say?
I think at the time they had some huge deal with Disney or something, uh, something along those lines,
Mm.
and yeah, he got arrested or all this, and that just like, you know, I think just ruined the whole deal for
Oh,
them with Disney because
okay.
they were like, oh, well, this guy's doing like crack cocaine or whatever he was
He was
doing,
doing some
and then
hard
that was
stuff.
kind of it for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was just destructive for the band and all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. But yeah, but I think that he is cleaned up now, and yeah, it was really really
Mm-hmm.
nice tribute, and I'll show you that video that
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds,
Sure.
and there's a video of him getting this whatever he's getting.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Governor General's Award or something like that, and there's a bunch of people who are saying like thank you Ryan and this and that, and then there's a video of him watching that
Oh, I see.
and responding to it, or like he's
Mm-hmm.
like he's watching it and you can tell that he's like emotionally moved by it. So it's pretty cool. And Kyle says we want you to happy place feel. Thank you so much. It helps. It really does help to be doing this. So yeah, so it's funny like we when we talk about Ryan Reynolds, and it just feels it feels so cool for me that like I had this opportunity, or I've had a couple of opportunities to kind of like have like some kind of like intermingling with his
Mm-hmm.
like big giant like celebrity life that he has, and then just to have been able to um even so for some people who may not know, he had sent me a birthday greeting, which was really really cool. But not only did he send me a birthday greeting, I sent him a thanks afterwards, and he actually responded back with a note, which was like I didn't actually expect him to respond back to
Yeah.
me thanking him for the video. And then for his birthday, which was later on in October, I sent him a video, and then just sent a little note saying, I think like you seem like a really good person, and please keep doing what you're doing. And he responded back to that too. And I mean, I think that's like how many literally like thousands I would imagine messages might have he gotten that day on his birthday, that
Oh,
he
for
took but he
sure.
took time, not just a thanks Mio or whatever, like a really nice note. And I'm just so happy for him though, that all the success that he's finding, and feel like there's a reason why he is, because it feels like he's a good person. Yes, found it. Thank you. So for her, it's Wonder Woman, Batwoman, Black Panther, Supergirl, Captain Marvel. Cool. They're all, and you got all the female representation that I didn't do. So thank you so much for that. And Kathy was saying it was good to see him. It was really sweet and funny. Yeah, Ryan is definitely. I mean, just I don't know. He just seems like somebody who, I don't know, like somebody that you kind of could know, like a next door neighbor or something like that. But just really really sweet. So yeah, so that's an update on me and Ryan Reynolds apparently. And does anybody want to volunteer their to go to share their worst music festival lineup? Kyle says my man crush on Ryan grows every day. It's true. I've had a couple of people message me and be like, I'm wallpapering Ryan. And yeah, like all genders. Anyone have anyone volunteer to start with sharing their music festival lineup? So
So I think we came up with this when we touched on it, like we were getting gas and so forth. And I think at the time I had a customer who was talking about there's a film on Woodstock '99, which is like, the bad Woodstock where people burnt stuff and people, it's '90s anger and stuff like that. And I think it like it came out of that conversation, saying what would be the worst music festival if you could ever pick the worst artists and put them together on stage in a lineup, and I think that's where it came from.
Yeah, and clearly it's going to be subjective,
for sure.
But yeah, but I think a lot of us here might have like some '90s stuff, and my sense is that our musical tastes are kind of like pretty much aligned. So it'll be really interesting to see. And JPS, like you've already actually posted yours publicly, so we know what yours are. And our lineups as long as mine. Mine kind of has. I didn't count how many bands that you have on yours, but mine is I think at around 9. I have 9 acts.
You have 9?
Yeah.
I had 5, but I was thinking about it and I made it 10.
Okay.
The top 10. So.
But the one thing that I did do because of JPS's lineup is that I have an MC. I added an MC.
Well, why don't we do his, because
he's already posted it. Is that okay, JPS? You can go first. I don't know how we're gonna do this. We'll figure it out. But he actually, because he posted it earlier.
Because I haven't seen it actually.
Oh yeah, Joe didn't want to see it, so he hasn't seen it.
I was saving it for the live stream. So.
And here we are. We're on the live stream. So let me find it. But did you want to put yours in the chat? Oh yeah, is it maybe?
Wow, he did a poster and everything.
I told you he did a poster. It's so amazing.
Can you show me? Wow.
Okay, so I don't know if you all can see it.
Wow.
This is what he posted on. It's called Wrath of McGrath, I think. Festival. Wow. Hosted by Mark McGrath.
Oh my God. Oh, Kenny G. Oh my God.
Okay, so I'm gonna read it out actually.
Yeah, read it out.
And you can see here at the same time, Joe. So, and if you don't mind, JPS, if you can put it in the chat, just so that maybe other people can See, that would be great.
It's amazing
So
how we did the logos
I
of the
know,
bands.
I know. This is
Candlebox and
beyond.
train.
I think you just kind of win just for this, to be honest.
Yeah.
But mine derives from extreme hatred of Sugar Ray
Yeah.
singer Mark McGrath. I will say that. Okay, so and it's funny because I was chatting with Kathy earlier today, and she was talking about somebody with the same name that she knows that she deals with, and she has a chuckle out of it. So, 21, the Wrath of McGrath Festival, emceed by Mark McGrath,
Wow.
which he is, you know, I think he does like Access Hollywood or some crap like that, doesn't he? So that's a thing. So so it looks like it's headlined by Sugar Ray, and then to go down in order of headline down to the very bottom, I think is Sugar Ray, Oasis, Bush, Candlebox,
Wow.
Train, Kenny G, Michael Bolton,
Oh.
Creed.
Oh, Creed's awful.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh, that's bad.
Kings of Leon.
Yeah.
Maroon 5.
Maroon 5.
Collective Soul. This is funny. Nickelback featuring Kanye.
Oh,
Snow.
No.
And
Striper. Oh my god.
Mace. And this is really funny because I actually have a discussion with Ted Nugent and Eric Clapton and Matchbox 20, if time permitting.
I think you won.
I love.
That's a pretty terrible lineup.
I love the time, but like Matchbox 20, time permitting. He'd be like what's his name on Kimmel. Who's the Bourne guy?
Oh, Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, and they had that whole thing where he would always get bumped. So I could see like Matchbox 20 always getting bumped.
Striper, that's a deep cut. It's like Christian metal.
But it's awesome that he actually put that together. Yeah. It's so I'm getting like, haha, don't hate Kenny G. Again, subjective, you know. And Kyle was saying, I had a very different McGrath surprise and interaction. My friends Lighthouse were heading a Summerfest here in Indianapolis. My teenage daughter dragged me to their stage performance. I wonder if there's more to that. But you actually had like a real life McGrath thing instead of just the from afar. Had more fun than her in the long run, interacted with the band, etc. Sounds like a lot of fun. But I think that this, again, so Kathy was saying, I actually made a playlist on Spotify, but I have no idea how to show it, but essentially it's a 80s one-hit wonders lineup, which would be a logical nightmare, but a pretty awesome party. See, I think that any bad festival could actually be a potential moneymaker because people would just show up for the sake of the fact that it's what it is. But well, it depends. But I think like Kathy's lineup sounds to me like it's going to be an awesome like dance party. Like it's like you know how like in the 80s and stuff, like, well, not like Solid Gold or like what was it on like Much Music? They had that show where people would like dance.
Oh yeah, I forget that.
But
I do.
It's too bad. Like we don't have those 80s shows anymore. Like where like TV shows anymore, where people would just like they would play songs and people would just dance around.
And we've been watching like the last 2 days, watching videos, like old music videos. Like it started last night and a little bit tonight. It's kind of like, oh, I kind of miss this watching a music video from 30 years ago.
But they had like those top 10 shows or whatever it is.
Yeah, like video hits.
What was the one on Much Music though, where they had like Monica Diol and they would play dance music and they would dance.
Yeah.
But
The
like
Electric Underground?
that
Was
was
that
not.
it?
It's Electric something.
Electric Circus.
Electric Circus. Yeah. But I think again, yours is going to be amazing, and if we'll share that in a moment, and that would be pretty cool. Okay, so Kyle was saying, I've sat on my couch writing music and poetry with Rob Thomas, been buddies for decades, so I can't be hating on Matchbox 20 either. I guess not.
No.
Well, maybe not tell him that he was part of this, but he might. It's for fun. It's for fun.
I couldn't even name a Matchbox 20 song.
It was we were just had like a playlist on, and like the last song that was playing on YouTube was a Matchbox 20 song.
I would probably recognize one song.
That song, like It's 3 a.m. and I Feel Lonely.
Oh, okay, that one.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so this was just again JPS's lineup. Oh, actually.
Oh, that's a mess.
Here's the first one. Here's the first bit.
Oh, look at that Sugar Ray.
Yeah.
You must really hate Oasis.
For them to be second after Sugar Ray. Yeah. But I do love the time permitting thing. And again, JPS says, don't worry, Kyle, time will run out and Rob will play my festival. We have a haha. Love the 80s dance party theme. The Bangles have to be on the list, right?
The last.
On the list, I think.
Okay.
Grown. Oh my God! Electric Circus. See, we got there. We were sure what the name of it was, but with Monica Deal, we got there. And that's another like deep Canadian reference up here from like Much Music, which was like a Canadian MTV. And Much Music's still around, I think. And Kyle says, I've been liaison security for Kings of Leon since 2006, so much love for them too. They feature prominently on my brag walls. Okay, Kyle and JPS might have to get the blows here. But Kyle, I would be interested in hearing yours, but your list. But who do you want to go next?
Should I go?
Joe has like this giant.
It's not a giant list. It's got a couple like notes. I wrote it on a couple of notes. Paper. But yeah, I can go if you.
Yeah, if that's okay with everyone.
All right. So I'll go. I did 10, and I'll pick like 10 to 1, like the worst being number 1. There's no like list for the festival. It's just, if you called it, Shitfest 2021, like this would be it. And
this is Joe's version.
So number 10 may surprise some people, but I have John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and let me explain that. They did 2 records. One was in 1968 called Two Virgins, and then they did another one in 1969 called Life with the Lions. And so they would have to do that type of music, which is just kind of like screaming and weird feedback. There's no music. It's just like noise. It's a performance thing, but it's just so it's torture to listen to. I listened to this other record, Life with the Lions, and if they got on stage and just did that, and John Lennon is turning the radio on and off like for 20 minutes, like.
Okay, 9.
So that's number 9.
Yeah.
Obviously. Okay, so. Sorry, that's number 10, sorry.
Yeah.
So number 9 is, can you see this? It's Lisa Whelchel from The Facts of Life She played like Blair. She actually recorded a record. She did one record her entire life back in 1984, and it's called All Because of You. And she's a terrible singer. And I only know this because I actually found this record a few years ago, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
That's so funny.
So I bought it, and I bought it, and I listened to it, and she has like no musical talent singing whatsoever.
So why is...
But
oh, she's
so,
number 9.
yeah, so
I
she's
thought
number
it...
9.
oh, I thought that it was
So she
Ariel
only
Speedway.
did that um, one record. And here's the, like, it sounds like the 80s threw up on that record. It just sounds so bad. It's like this Christian sort of
I feel like
pop,
any... I feel
80s pop stuff. But she's a terrible singer. And strangely enough, I looked into it, and this record was actually nominated for a Grammy, but it lost out to Donna Summer. But it's a terrible record, and she's a terrible singer. And that probably falls into actors who think they're singers.
I think, well, I mean, there's a lot of people who are entertainers, who are actors,
yeah,
who...
but that's just, it's a terrible...
You can actually do like a whole music festival
Yeah.
of like actors who
Oh, for
sang.
sure.
That would be pretty...
But it's terrible. So my number 8 is REO Speedway, and it's a terrible band. The lead singer, he's got like a nasally sort of voice, and yeah, they're just awful. My number 7 is Ugly Kid Joe. And I don't know a lot about Ugly Kid Joe, but we were driving one day on the road, and the radio came on. They played an Ugly Kid Joe song, and it's kind of like hard rock / metal and rap. And it was like I don't even know what song it was, but it was the worst song. Remember,
Yeah,
he did like
it was really
an
bad.
Al Jolson, bah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. It was like the worst fucking song I ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And if that song could be that bad, the rest of the band must just be awful.
Okay, next.
Okay. Number 7 is Canadian favorite here, Loverboy. Terrible band.
Bad style.
Bad, cheesy lyrics, bad style. The lead singer has that stupid headband all the time.
Hopefully
and
not anymore, but...
not anymore, but back then. And, they had Turn Me Loose, Working for the Weekend, cheesy lyrics, and they always get played on
Canadian radio.
It's like they have to play it, so you'll
They don't
hear...
have to play it, but they have something here called
CanCon.
Canadian content, where they have to play...
They're forced to play it.
Yeah.
So it's just awful. My number 5 is Insane Clown Posse. Just a terrible band. And then they got into like wrestling as well, like wrestling and music.
She was on Survivor. Are we talking about Lisa Welchel?
Yeah, she was.
She was on Survivor?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
weird. But yeah, she's a horrible singer. All right, so Insane Clown Posse. My number 4 is Limp Bizkit. Just a terrible band. But they sold a lot of records, which is crazy. They combine two great things, rap and heavy metal, and turn it into something neither a rap fan nor a heavy metal fan can stomach. They're just a terrible band. My number 3 is Frank Stallone. That's Sylvester Stallone's brother. He's a singer. And every song this guy sings is like off one of his brother's movies. So he sang a song on Rocky called Take You Back, which is terrible. He sang a song on the Staying Alive soundtrack. And then Probably his worst song is "Peace in Our Life," and that is from uh, Rambo: First Blood Part 2. So he's my number 3. Number 2 is, it's the same band. There's a little bit of a story behind it. It's Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship slash
Starship.
Starship. This whole band, I've listened to their records, like their very first record where they didn't have Grace Slick. It's like this folk rock thing. It's forgettable. Their best record is their second one when they had
Okay,
Grace
but
Slick.
yeah.
Wait, I'm getting into it. They have two good songs on that record, White Rabbit and Somebody to Love. And then every other record they did as Jefferson Airplane, it's forgettable. There's like no, you can't remember any of the songs. When they were Starship, they recorded, possibly the worst song ever, which is "We Built This City," um, and we laugh at that. We actually
We
saw
saw them
live at Disney World. The guy was
Yeah.
playing
And
like
then
that little.
we didn't
We're
go.
walking by.
Yeah,
And,
we didn't go see them, but they happened to be playing.
yeah,
So when it was,
his
yeah,
name Mickey Hart's or whatever
yeah,
his name
it
is.
was
It
awful.
was awful. Like, and I think it was so weird because he was like, "Oh, here's a little song I wrote from the soundtrack from Mannequin."
Mannequin.
Yeah, and it's just like they're so bad,
Yeah.
terrible band. And number 1, no big surprise, is Nickelback. I don't understand why people like them. They're a terrible band. And here's a couple interesting facts I looked up. Um,
Nickelback fact.
they are the second most successful foreign band of the 2000s in the USA behind the Beatles, which is
Whoa.
crazy.
That is crazy.
And also, what I read about them is Nickelback is also the favorite band of strippers. So apparently, strippers like Nickelback.
Well, there you
And there's my
go.
list.
Okay, I don't think I actually got all of them, but this is Joe's list. I think I might have missed somebody, but there's his list right there. And in the meantime, other people have been
Oh, wow.
sharing theirs. What did folks think about Joe's list? Please let us know. Um, let's see here. I saw. I saw. Um, I went back too far. Okay, here we go. We got Kyle's Suckfest 21, Quiet Riot headlines. DeBrow's live performance was Nails on a Chalkboard. Yoko, obviously. T Swift, Millie Vanilli, etc. What's etc.? What's etc. here? So we have so far Quiet Riot, Yoko, Taylor Swift, and Millie Vanilli. um, Kyle says, I love
Oh,
REO, but seeing as though I have that same said Midwesterns, that's why. And James has the WT Fast. Billy Ray Cyrus, Miley Cyrus,
oh,
Cypress Hill.
yes. Faith
Look at this,
Hill,
Faith Hill, Faith No More, Mandy Moore,
Kanye West, Go
Kanye,
West.
Go West, Will Smith.
Wow.
That's funny.
Billy Allen. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
stream of
I should have put Miley Cyrus on my list.
stream of consciousness stuff there though. And JPS says, I see what you did there, James. How about James Gang, Cool in the Gang, Coolio, Ted Leo, TED Talk from James, and then loop it back around. JPS says, my wife Kim and you guys could bond over hating We Built This City for hours. Yeah, it's
a bad song.
and
It's a bad
especially
video
and
too.
no, but especially if you see it live. I mean, they they really like play it up. That, and I think Sarah, wasn't that a that Sarah song, was also, I think, from Manic. It's terrible. Hi, Karma. I hope you're doing okay. We are sharing our worst music festival lineups, and getting some interesting stuff. And Kyle was saying slam it on the looks. Yes. So Karma, if you have a lineup of the worst music festival that you can think of, please share it with us. And Karma was saying Starship back in the 80s with, yeah, Marty. We were just talking about that.
Terrible.
Your audience will be the most diverse ever. Yeah. It's so true. So Kathy, I wonder how you can share your either playlist or I think like your I could see it being like a televised like an electric circus type of situation or a solid gold type situation, where like you have like the top hits of the 80s. I wonder how you would be able to share that with us. And I guess maybe
Party Ball, and that's his name.
Yeah. I did see Sarah live. One time the guy from Starship played free in the middle of a casino. My friend was dating a Sarah. I told him to bring her out, but he refused.
That's funny. That's kind of like us. We were literally walking by Epcot, and they were playing like a little stage thing.
Yeah, they have an area where they have like live performances and stuff like that in Epcot.
There might have been 50 people there.
And I think it was more than that.
Sauntering in.
But there was plenty of seats. Yeah. But there were some people that were really into it. So, and it's strange when they do Jefferson Airplane stuff, because, you know, it's not like they have Brace Slick or anything like that, right? So, so Karma, I think, was seeing okay, wait. So Kyle was saying just not enough characters available to down all of them, though my taste varies very differently otherwise. And Karma was saying Jefferson Starship with Heart at the Forum. So one would hope that Heart, Jefferson Starship would be opening for Heart. You would hope, because I would think that.
What year was that? Would that
have been this Starship and Heart show? Because Heart would be awesome to see, even though 80s Heart.
But were they doing like power ballads in the 80s, or was it like 70s?
Well, if it was Jefferson Starship, it probably was the 80s. But yeah, so I could, I guess, share mine. So the one thing that I did do for my list was the one inspiration that I took from JPS's, because I did end up seeing that list, was I do have an MC, and my MC is Andrew Dice Clay, because I can't stand him. And I know that some people think he's really funny, but I'm not a fan of Andrew Dice Clay's, and I think that he would irritate a lot of people. So I'm actually going to do the lineup from the opening act to the very end, and I would start. My first act would be Eric Clapton. I can't stand Eric Clapton. I think that for a lot of different reasons, and I think like a lot more now than ever, but maybe he could do his humongously exploitive song Tears in Heaven, and he could start off whatever this, I haven't named it, so this Doomsday Festival or something like that. This is just the worst stuff ever. So Eric Clapton, and then maybe he can talk about how he's anti-vax and all of that, and really get us off to a good start. And that would lead into Creed, just because they're just terrible. And then Vince Neil.
That's a good one.
Not
Motley
not
Crue.
Motley Crue, but Vince Neil right now, because just looking at him, there's a little bit of like a sense of the fact that he might just keel over on stage, and that in itself could be sort of an interesting thing. But he just horrendous. I don't think he has a voice anymore.
Well, he never really had like a great voice, but it was good on record, I think.
And he
Kind of
also,
like David Lee Roth. They didn't have technically great singing voices, but
yeah,
they managed to pull it off. But we saw like a clip of him like just a year ago or
he
something.
just
It's awful. Like he
he
does
looks a
not look
mess.
well. Yeah.
He looks a mess. And so, and this is, and then and after Vince Neil, we would have the double bill of Billy Ray Cyrus and Miley Cyrus.
Jeez, that's a good one.
Because, I mean,
Yeah.
why not, right?
Yeah, she sounds like a goat.
Miley Cyrus, she's an interesting one, but I think that would be like a good combo, like the mother, the father daughter thing. And then we have a special satellite performance by R. Kelly, Trapped in the Closet from Prison.
Oh, no.
So that's the next act. And then after that, we also have another double bill act, which is Kid Rock and Vanilla Ice.
Oof.
And then after that would be Limp Bizkit. And then Nickelback would be actually the headliner. But we would have a special appearance by the Baha Men, who let the dogs out to end off our festival. So that's my
list.
That's my list. So Kathy was saying I'll just try listening to my artists, and hopefully she'll share. And JPS was saying, great call with Andrew Dice Clay as MC. His excuse was playing a character, but if you're glorifying the character instead of self-mocking it, it's a problem to me anyway. Just, yeah, it's awful. Kyle says, this Wilson sisters' dad was a previous command in the U.S. Marine Corps, so have interacted with them much over the years, especially when they played free shows on the bases. That would be amazing. Clapton has always been a joke to me. Let's not get started on Clapton, because I have so many problems with Clapton. It's not even funny. It's like and just recently too, with all the stuff that he's been on about. I actually read an interesting article. I can't remember where it was, about how apparently he is just like almost like a child, and so he's like this person who doesn't really understand like the world or something like that. And so the fact that he's kind of gone into this weird place in the last couple of years has maybe to do with the fact that like there aren't people who want to play with, like literally play with him and stuff like that. And so he's like lonely and he's upset and weird stuff. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, since George Harrison isn't around, he probably doesn't have any friends anymore.
I think it seems like he's lost a lot of friends, because there's a lot of people that interviewed for this particular article that I read, and they weren't. There are a lot of people who are sort of disappointed in him. Karma says, not buying a ticket to that show. It's not a great show that I got going. And JPS says, I almost added Miley to Billy too. Would have been the only woman, I think. And Kid Rock. I literally had him on my list but forgot to write it down. Oh well, next year he had lines. Awful.
Yeah, I forgot about Kid Rock too.
But you had Ted Nugent, and I kind of thought about him too. Kyle says Kid Rock is horrible, but still paid to see one of his shows, as he had Tenacious D opening for them. That's interesting that Tenacious D would open for Kid Rock. We watched them having fun all the time and then left when Kid Rock took the stage. Yeah. That would, I don't think I would stay for Kid Rock either. But that's interesting that Tenacious D would have opened for Kid Rock.
Well, it's probably promoters, right? Like,
I don't know how that works. Cal would know better than we would how that would work. But yeah, I mean, I'm wondering like what people are thinking about these lineups here. I think there's a lot of Nickelback. We've seen a lot of Nickelback. Um,
It's crazy, like how many records they sold though.
yeah,
Like in the 2000s, like people hate them so much
I think
that
I think even now, but that's probably not why they sell those. Like, I think they sell albums because people like them, right? So I wonder what it is about Nickelback where it's such a, and they're Canadian too. They're such a divisive thing, um, where people really dislike them so much, and yet there's some people who clearly, I mean, if
but
they,
you never meet somebody who goes, "Oh, I'm a big Nickelback fan," or "Yeah, Nickelback, man, that's my band." You never meet anybody who actually admits to liking them or being a big fan of them. Like
I wonder if,
I never have.
I think part of it too is because we live in Toronto. We live, you know, like in people.
No, but we've been outside of Toronto.
We don't talk
Like,
about. We don't like, you know, when we go on trips and stuff like that. It's not one of the first things we talk about with people. It's like, hey, what do you think about Nickelback? You know? I wonder, like, if that if I mean, like, it would be interesting if that's something that we start doing. Is we start, you know, like we drive out to places and like go, hey,
yeah,
so what do you think about Nickelback?
yeah, you got any Nickelback, man?
Kel says regarding Tenacious D, it was their big break. It was a record label thing. So there you go.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so you go in deep with some actual terrible people would definitely avoid the festival. Yeah. I think, like, for me, honestly, if there was a festival where like Eric Clapton just was on the thing, I would just, maybe I would just put like Eric Clapton on the lineup and that would be it at this point. I've always had a big problem with him, but yeah.
You know what's interesting about the Beatles thing documentary, Get
Get Back.
Back, was George Harrison walks out because he gets fed up, and then I guess they're just sitting around afterwards, and John Lennon says, "Oh, we'll give George until Tuesday or whatever, and then we'll just get Clapton if he doesn't come back." And I was just thinking, oh, like, I know he's worked with, you know, he was on the White Album and stuff like that, but yeah, it's kind of weird to think of the Beatles with Eric Clapton.
I mean, Eric Clapton got around back in the day,
yeah,
and
that's true too.
and people have some level of respect for the guy as a guitarist, I think. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I think like there's people are probably more discerning about character with people nowadays than maybe they might have been back in the day. Like yeah. So I'm curious to hear. I'm still wanting to see Kathy's list, but also just feedback on people's lineups. I've gotten uh, I've gotten feedback saying people wouldn't buy a ticket to mine, so I'm gonna say that that's probably pretty good for what we're trying to accomplish here. But if other folks have feedback on the other lists have been found, or like what list seems to be like bad, like really bad.
Is there any artist that you don't agree with, saying, "Oh, they shouldn't be on that list"? Like on mine, what would you say?
I'm okay with all of those.
Even John Lennon, Yoko Ono. But they have to be doing those two records.
My only problem with that is that I think that they their aim wasn't to be a pop artist, like pop. They weren't, those two albums weren't meant to be pop albums or
no, I know that.
So I think that they're meant to be more like performance art, right. And so that's probably where I'm I'm sort of on the, like, I wouldn't go there with that, because there's probably a lot of people who are performance artists, that you can, like, Yoko you know about because of John.
No, for
You know
sure.
what I
But
mean?
I've heard stuff, them doing that before, where there's actually been some sort of music to it,
Mm.
and she's screaming and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Where this one, like these two records, like it's not music. It's not even like pleasing sounds.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, I don't know. I mean, I just found it like, especially that second record is just like torture to listen to. I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think that they, again, like, the purpose. I mean, I can't speak for them, but I don't think the purpose, of those records were necessarily to have like a
Yeah, I
commercial.
know.
So that's sort of like where I kind of go with that, but people can feel differently about that. So
Matthew.
Kathy's 80s one hit wonder stuff is Dead or Alive, Madness, General Public, Color Me Bad, Cameo,
Wow.
Happy Mondays, Stereo MCs, Jesus
Jesus
Jones,
Jones.
just a few, but not necessarily terrible, but fun.
Mm.
Fun. That's a really great playlist.
I was reading about Jesus Jones, and they said they had a great um, first record,
Mm.
and then they had like four records that were just terrible. That like nobody didn't go anywhere.
Mm.
Like it was like one of those iconic like debut records, and then like nothing happened.
Right.
The other four or five records, like the Spin Doctors, I guess.
Mm. So Kyle's listing out some Canadian stuff. So I don't as much mind Nickelback. See, so we have
Mm.
a person who doesn't like Kyle doesn't mind Nickelback, but definitely not up there with my favorite Canadian bands. Honeymoon Suite,
Mm-hmm.
Rush,
Rush,
Triumph,
Triumph,
The Hip,
Cowboy
Cowboy Junkies,
Junkies,
Crash
Crash
Test
Test
Dummies.
Dummies.
So the thing that I'm always curious about is the Tragically Hip and how people outside of Canada regard or know or think about the Tragically Hip. So um, I'm actually surprised, Kyle, that you know about the Hip,
Mm-hmm.
although I don't know why, because like so much about
Yeah.
music and so much more. But I'm curious to know how yeah, like what your thoughts are about Tragically Hip and how you've come about them. Jack Black is usually smarter than that regarding, I think, the Tenacious D thing with Kid Rock. You would hope so. Yeah. And Kyle was saying, Kathy, it was in 2001 where they hadn't broken out yet. Only did like 40 shows with him. That's still a lot of
Right.
shows with Kid Rock. And would that have been um, before he did? Because what was Jack Black's breakout in terms of his movie career?
It's like High Fidelity, wasn't
Oh,
it?
High Fidelity. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Would that have been? I wonder when High Fidelity would have
Or
been.
actually, no, he was in The Cable Guy, but he was like a second banana in it. Like he was in it.
Yeah,
But he was kind of like he was Jack Black, but he wasn't like zany or crazy. Like he was kind of like the straight man in it, I guess.
and the
Or the
Cable Guy,
Yeah, he was Matthew. What's his name?
Broderick.
His friend,
Huh?
saying, what are you doing hanging out with this cable guy? Like,
Huh?
so, so
Huh?
that's like
So that was.
95 or six.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, I think it came out in 96. The Cable Guys.
When would a High Fidelity have been? I wonder.
Probably like 2000 or 1999 or
Hmm.
something like
Kyle
that.
says right here, right now by Jesus Jones was so big at the time.
Mm-hmm.
With the fall of the Berlin Wall, communist downfall, and such, had a huge impact on military personnel. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I never would have thought
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
that would make
They
sense.
sold a lot of records,
That was a huge song.
because I see that CD and I see that cassette tape all over the place,
Mm.
and I have for several years. Like if
Mm.
there's a box of cassette tapes, like mixed or whatever, there's always like a Jesus Jones, like
Mm.
that first record
Right.
in there.
Yeah. James is saying Worst MC would have to be Saget.
Bob Saget.
So bad.
Ooh.
You know, I actually like Saget. And it's because he has had an interesting career. I mean, clearly, like he had this whole um,
I'm just gonna
what
get a drink.
full house thing. But he's actually not.
Dirty
Yeah,
comedian.
he's like a like he's not the clean cut like Full House guy. And also, I think a lot of people actually, a lot of the comedians really had an affinity for him. And one of the things, like Norm Macdonald, for instance, who passed away recently, I really liked him as a comedian, and Saget was apparently the first live act that Norm Macdonald saw in Ottawa when he was first coming up, and they became friends. And I guess there's something about like association or something like that. But he's not always super funny. But I do have a bit of an affinity for Bob Saget.
He's friends with
interesting.
Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, yeah. I just talked about that.
Sorry.
It's okay. So Kathy says Yoko is an artist, so she definitely had a heavy hand in that.
Yes.
Yeah. So Kyle was saying, oh, Bob Roberts, with what's his face? Tim Robbins, yeah. Political satire. He was an acting troupe with Tim way back. My childhood friend, who do you not know, Kyle? Friend Tristan Walling was his stunt double pilot for him in Bernie. Bernie.
Oh, Weekend at Bernie's?
Was he in that?
I don't know.
Was Jack Black in that?
The Looney Tunes 50th anniversary cup, 1990. Nice. She hates the Looney Tunes.
I'm not a big Looney Tunes fan. But yeah, so is there so Nickelback was somebody, Kyle was saying that doesn't mind Nickelback, and you know, kind of the Yoko thing is up for debate.
No, I know Yoko Ono is an artist, and I know what they were trying to do. It's just, and you know what, I like Double Fantasy. Obviously, Imagine, Plastic Ono Band. It's a great record. I actually like Sometime in New York City. A lot of people hate that album because it's very political and, um, but I actually kind of like it because it's a little bit quirky. But those two records they did are just like, I was like, I never liked Two Virgins, and I remember buying it and with the naked photo album cover and stuff. Uh, but it just musically, it's just not pleasing. Like to
No,
me,
no, that's fair, and I don't know
So
I don't know that that's what we're. I'm not necessarily saying that you can't like those two albums specifically.
Right. I'm just trying to explain it a
I know totally.
little bit better.
I no, and you have every right to have like the lineup that you do. I'm just saying, like, if people have a different opinion about certain bands or like what was chosen, and that just happens to be
Right.
my opinion in relation to that particular choice, right? But I'm not saying that you know you do what you like, right? So James is saying saw Bob Saget open up before a medal ceremony of the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake. He was making lots of jokes about animal farts. Well, that doesn't sound funny at all. Or at the very least, like very juvenile. And that wouldn't surprise me either. I think I might have mentioned this in another live stream, but when I for Frosh Week in my first year university, Chris Rock had opened, but he was on Saturday Night Live for 1 year, and I think he did really badly. It wasn't a very good year for him on Saturday Night Live, and I think it was just following that, and the university had booked him for Frosh Week, and he couldn't get through like 5 minutes. He got booed off the stage, and I don't even remember the material that he had done for those 5 minutes, but I also
Wow.
feel as though like it was like a really lost opportunity to have seen Chris Rock perform live while he was younger. So I always think that was a lost opportunity. But I think if you asked anybody who was at that show, um, well, Chris Rock is an awful comedian and stuff like that. So I think it's also, when you catch, certain acts at a certain time too. But then there are some people who are really awful, and to me, I think Andrew Dice Clay. Andrew Dice Clay has just one thing. Like he just has. It's almost like um, Jeff Foxworthy or whatever. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
those folks who just have like sort of that seem to be sort of
Well,
like a one-trick pony,
yeah,
like in terms of their.
yeah, and he's stuck in that. So when you think of that of him, you think of like 1990 or 89, and yeah, that's a hard thing to, I think, evolve. You
Mm,
just can't be doing the same joke over and over and over.
or just the same type of joke,
Yeah,
you know, just like spun in different ways.
yeah, it would be like Steve Martin, um, you know,
Still doing.
doing the arrow through the head
Mm-hmm.
from 1978.
Yeah, wow,
Nowadays, yeah,
yeah. Carmen was saying, I walked past Bob going into a coffee house in Santa Monica years ago. He looks like a pretty tall guy. But yeah, I guess you never know, like what you see on TV. Um, JPS was saying, I'll never see Saget the same way after seeing the movie The Aristocrats. I really like that movie, The Aristocrats. It is, there's one joke. Maybe JPS, like you can explain that a little better than I can. But the idea is that there is this one joke, The Aristocrats, and there's a movie that talks about how different comedians tell that joke. And I think specifically after, I want to say like 9/11, um, it was the joke that Gilbert Gottfried, I think, told at some kind of a public event, when people were maybe wondering how you can laugh again, or how you can just be maybe silly again. If I'm off on that, please let me know. But I really, it's been a long time since I've watched that movie, but I really enjoyed it, and I thought that it was that yeah,
yeah,
you got kind of a different sense of comedians and how they think about
jokes and
jokes and.
punchlines and setting it up and so
Mhm.
forth.
Mhm. Yeah. But if people, I mean, I'm curious to know. Um, oh, so, it's unbelievable, Kyle. Seriously, my copy of Aristocrats is signed by Gilbert Godfrey. Of course it
Wow.
is. That's amazing. That's really cool. Does he? And I don't know, Kyle, if you actually met Gilbert Gottfried to have him sign it, but is he actually talk that way?
How you doing? Yeah, I can't do his voice.
Yeah, like but he also kind of seems a little bit out of it. And I'm just curious to know if that's sort of like his, again, like, is it an act, or is that sort of like
I
how
think it's an act because I heard him. There was something recently where he was talking and he was talking normal. I don't know if he was on Joe Rogan or something like
he
that,
was on
but
Rogan
he
recently, I
wasn't
think.
like, "Hey, Joe," like he
Hmm.
was kind of talking normal.
Mm-hmm. JPS is like, oh yes, that movie is hilarious, and you find out how raunchy Saget is. Yes, it's a joke that all the comedians in the industry know. It involves making it your own and going as long as you can. Yeah, I should watch that again. It was. I remember it like thinking, how fun it is. But I think also what I liked about it is that it's like a behind the curtains kind of a thing with comedians, because comedy is an art. I believe, like, it's a performance art, and it's not just people just standing up and telling jokes. Some people do that, but you know, it's a craft. It's an art and a craft, and I love like movies, and I love things that sort of give you sort of an insight into people's art and craft. And I felt that The Aristocrats was one of those movies, so I thought that was really great, and I would love to. Yeah, you know what? It's a good reminder. I would like to see it again. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, because we've seen a number of comedians too. I think in the last while, rather than music concerts, it feels like in some ways
we
like
saw a lot of comedians.
we've pivoted towards seeing comics in the last while, and
We saw a lot. Dave
we've seen
Chappelle.
Chappelle.
We saw Jeffrey Ross.
Yeah.
Bill Burr.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Maher. Louis C.K. and I think Sarah Silverman opened for him. And who else?
We've seen
Mark
Rogan.
Maron.
We've
Yeah,
seen
Joe Rogan. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
right. Yeah, he's seen a lot of.
Yeah, we've seen a number of people. Yeah, and some unfortunately, like there's been some stuff that's happened since and stuff, but
Who was the worst, do you think?
I don't know, it's hard to say.
Yeah. I would probably say for me, Sarah Silverman. I didn't find her funny at all, and I was just like, okay. And actually, Bill Maher, I thought was very disappointing because he walked out on stage with a fucking binder. Like he had all his jokes in a binder. Remember that?
Yeah, but
so he didn't have it memorized, and it just like he just kind of flipped a page, and I was like, you have to use a binder to like tell jokes.
Well,
like you don't do your act over and over and over and get a rhythm. You're literally, and he used that binder the whole show. Like I thought, like he was good. I mean, people were laughing, but I just thought that was very weak. That he needed a binder to get through.
Well, but that's
a routine.
I mean, that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is some people, that's how they do their shows. There's some people who do they put together a show where every beat is completely rehearsed, and then there's some people who are more they go with the audience and what's going on, and so it's not so much that everything is just completely locked down in terms of their hour that they have. um, and this is something like I've listened to Mark Maron's WTF podcast, and they talk about comedy and how different people approach comedy and stuff like that. Mark Maron is one of my favorite comedians, and so and he uses a notepad. And, he uses a book as well. So,
but like, did he use a notepad? Really? I don't
he always
even.
does.
Yeah, Bill. Like, I don't know. I mean, I just felt when we saw Bill Burr, or sorry,
we've seen
Bill
Burr
Maher.
yeah,
Bill Maher. That he really just almost didn't give a shit. Like he came out, he was wearing like some ratty T-shirt.
You just didn't get a good sense of him, eh?
And then he had this binder on a stand that he was pretty much reading from the whole time. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
it seemed very wooden to me. You know what I mean? Like I don't remember Mark Maron being wooden in his performance, and
he's not
ad libbed and kind of,
Yeah. Kyle was saying, met him numerous times. I'm thinking Gilbert Gottfried, along with Bobcat Goldthwait too. Wow. Both are actually very kindly and soft-spoken in real life. Genuine family men. I've heard that about Gilbert Gottfried, and I know Bobcat Goldthwait has worked with actually Mark Maron on a couple of his shows. I think did
One Crazy Summer, that movie from the 80s.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that, but I think Bobcat Goldthwait had directed one of Mark Maron's specials in the last little while. Yeah, I don't know too much about Bobcat Goldthwait's stuff. I haven't seen so much of his act or anything like that. But James is saying Gilbert Gottfried reminds me of the Problem Child movies and Aladdin. I haven't seen the Problem Child movies. Oh, well, one of my Gilbert autographs, New. There's so much that you have. It's incredible. I mean, that's so kind of you. Do you know comedian Mike Birbiglia? We see a lot of comics too. Well, you're in the Massachusetts area, and I would imagine that there's so many that's such a big I don't know, like area for comedy. I know, and I don't know too much of his stuff, but I understand that he's actually quite funny. And wait, I listen to his podcast every once in a while. I think it's called Working It Out. And I really enjoy the podcast. It's a lot of fun. Remember Fraser Smith? Why does that sound familiar? I don't. I'm not sure who Fraser Smith is. Oh my goodness! Look at this. First time I saw Maron, he was Kenny Loggins' opening act in his 1986 tour. Holy mackerel! He would have been a different guy back then, Maron. And I think one of the things that I really do like about Maron is how he's changed. Even so, my entry into um, learning about him was through WTF, the podcast, and he, even from the very beginning to I think where he is now, just to get the sense of like how much he's changed and grown and evolved over time, and not just him as a person, through everything that he's gone through, and also through the conversations that he's had on the podcast and so much, but also just through sharing a lot of what's happened in his life and his comedy too. So there's so much of an arc in his comedy, I think, which is really, really cool. Karma says radio personality and comedian Fraser Smith, I think you mentioned, right? No, I'm not familiar with him. Can't find it now. No, I'm not familiar with him. But yeah, we oh, Karma has a hands up for the Bobcat too that I missed.
Bobcats.
For Fraser Smith. And oh, what happened here? Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's interesting how we also ended up like talking about comedians, because I think of my Dice Clay thing. I wonder if other people like can recommend people, because I'm always looking for like new things to also check out too. So, we have Gallagher. Gallagher opened for Kenny Loggins at the Universal Amphitheater. We went 2 nights in a row to see Kenny Loggins, or to see Gallagher. Because Gallagher had an interesting.
Did he do the watermelon thing?
Yeah, he had that.
Oh, we saw Carrot Top too.
We saw Carrot Top too. Yeah, we have. So Kyle says, I'm in Indianapolis, home of Bob and Tom, nationally syndicated radio show. Grew up with their producer. Had many comedian, musician, movie star interactions to the station and friends there.
Wow.
Holy cow. Goodness. Yes, he sat back. Both.
Yeah, Kyle had a really on his YouTube channel. He had a tour of his. He has a really cool collection of old pulps and comic books, and it's pretty amazing. Do you have any Henry?
Not just older
Kyle?
stuff.
You know Henry?
Joe's obsessed with Henry for some reason. It's a weird looking
He's
bald
like a
kid.
bald kid from I guess the 20s or 30s. It's like silent comics sort of thing.
The things that like Joe has interest in, sometimes I'm like, where did this even?
But I remember reading it like as a kid. There was a book in the library. And it was about, I guess, the history of comic books, and because at the time I think I got into reading Peanuts, and
JPS is like world's funniest human. Is that Henry is the world's funniest human?
Is that what he's called? I don't know.
I
just thought he looked like Brett Gardner from the New York Yankees.
He does kind of look like Brett Gardner.
Let's see if I can find a picture. No one's gonna know what I'm talking about.
JPS says Kim has a Betty Boop poster with Henry.
Yeah, he was in a cartoon with her, like a silent. Wow, that's so cool. It's the same, yeah.
That's incredible that you guys know these things. I don't. It's baffling to me.
I don't know. I think he's. I don't know if we can do this, but that's him.
Maybe hold it
and
still.
He's got weird.
Hold it still.
He's got weird legs, but he looks like Brett Gardner. New York Yankees.
But what is it? What is it about him that is so interesting for you?
Just because, it's all like, little sight gags and stuff like that. He's a weird looking character too.
Does he have a mouth?
No, he doesn't have a mouth.
Okay.
But apparently they published this character, like in newspapers. I think they stopped publishing it like in 2005 or 6 or something like that.
Kyle says, I have several Henry things, including 30s and 40s issues of popular comics, which he was one of the main sections in.
Interesting.
So they stopped publishing him when?
I read it was like because the creator passed away a long time ago, so it was just continued on in the newspapers up until I think like 2010 or like it was fairly recent. Like within 10 years, I'm like, really? Like people were still reading Henry and the funnies? I don't know.
I mean, I think that we have like the most obscure stuff that we talk about on our live streams. That's what I'm going with.
For sure.
JPS says, I know, and it's not like I think of Henry ever, but you said that, and I was like, wow, Henry. And it's interesting how often it actually comes up in our household, and I have absolutely zero interest in Henry. and yet it gets talked about.
Or Felix the Cat.
Well, Felix the Cat's a different story. I mean, people know Felix the Cat.
See, I like Felix the Cat a lot, and it's kind of a shame because he's 100 years old, and he predates Mickey Mouse by a decade. And he's the first character to be on merchandise. Before Mickey Mouse, before Superman. I don't know. I just think that character just doesn't get enough credit.
Felix the Cat.
Felix the Cat
Yeah.
in pop culture.
Mm.
And I think he's designed better than Mickey Mouse too.
Kyle says we're talking about Henry. He's in lots of older newspaper reprint comic books.
I also like Blondie and Dagwood.
No kidding.
I remember reading. I wonder if they still publish. Well, they must still publish Blondie.
What do you mean publish? Do they? I mean, the one thing that I wonder about when you talk about this stuff is like, do they still publish strips anywhere? Are there new?
Yeah, it must be.
Are there new actual comic strips, or are they just
Family Circus?
Yeah, or whatever, or
Garfield. Garfield is still being published, but Jim Davis just doesn't do it. He just hires a bunch of guys to do Garfield strips.
But where are they published?
In newspapers, or maybe online. Like if you signed up for the New York Times, you could probably read the funnies online.
I don't know that the New York Times says the funnies. Does anyone know?
I don't know. I haven't picked up a newspaper in so long.
Right.
They must still have like comics.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like the most like.
I don't know. Does anyone read the comics?
It's like it's like Joe. I feel like he's from a different era.
I know.
And sometimes it's like, what language are we speaking right now? And should you have like, should you be talking like, hey there,
Gee Willikins. I don't know. That's a good question. Do they still print comics?
Kyle says Jim Davis is a few towns up from here, in Indiana. Oh. I know that one thing is that the peanut stuff is in California, so that's not close to you. Everything else is close to you. But the peanut stuff, I think, is actually in Santa Ana. I think
Santa
Rosa, California. That's something that I would love to be able to do, is actually go to and see peanut stuff. Well, not peanut stuff, Snoopy stuff. Actually, not a fan of the kids.
Yeah, it's weird. She doesn't like the kids.
No.
I like the kids.
No, the kids I don't like.
I like Charlie Brown.
Kids just get in the way.
Linus and Pigpen.
Yeah. I think that if Snoopy and Woodstock just did their own thing all the time, I would just that's fine by me, as far as I'm concerned. Those kids, whatever, one way or the other.
Does anyone know what's going on with Beetle Bailey? Anyone?
At this point, I don't. We're just talking.
No,
about, I don't know that anyone's interested in the stuff that we're talking about.
No, it just says here in this article that people actually started reading funnies in a newspaper in 2020 because of the pandemic. They were stuck inside, so they had nothing better to do but read newspaper
funnies.
Funnies.
The funnies. That's. You would think that there's a lot of things that probably went up in 2020 because of people staying at home and stuff like
card collecting and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Like collectibles and things like that seemed to have had like an exploding market because people were collecting things because they were at home and they had maybe extra income and all that kind of stuff.
Puzzles.
Puzzles apparently just like through the roof in terms of like how much sales that people were making. Sparky was all California, and we know that's peanuts. Though I have rubbed elbows with
Bloom
County fame and have many signatures and original art.
Wow.
Goodness gracious. You could, maybe you do have you've shown a little bit I would imagine it is just a portion of your collection online. But if you were to show everything, goodness, like I would imagine that you could have a museum of all these different things that you have. It'd be so eclectic, so really really cool. But
I have several Henry things. Oh, okay, so I read that one.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's neat. It's kind of a nice thing, like, reading comic strips in the newspaper. Or at least I used to like that as a kid. I don't know if you ever read them in the newspaper.
I used to on Saturdays because
Mm.
we used to get the Toronto Star when I was growing up as a kid, and to get the TV Guide, it would be in the Saturday Toronto Star, and they would have a cartoon excerpt. So they would have like a specific thing that you can like pull out, and it would be the colored comics. And I read through it, but my favorites were Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes, and I think that that's outside of that. Joe can talk about this. Like he brought something over, so.
Yeah, she loves Calvin and Hobbes.
Kyle says Mort Walker dying a few years ago made for a Beatle Bailey resurgence.
Oh, okay.
Would that be in terms of collectibles? You mean, Kyle, or just in terms of like interest in Beatle Bailey stuff? Yeah. But Joe brought something over. He can talk about that.
Mio likes this. It's called What's Michael. So it's an old
Japanese
manga. It's about a cat
named Michael.
Beautiful illustrations in it. It's funny too. And then there's some in English too. I got these for a few years ago.
Super Manga Blasts.
Yeah, Super Manga Blast.
Aren't they? Or no? These are specifically. Okay, these are specifically translated What's Michael stuff from Japan. But then there's also stuff called Super Manga Blast that has a collection of like Japanese manga stuff that they've translated into English that they published over here, I guess. And the one thing with Joe is that because he's a collector, he would find out that I would like something, and he would just get me things as though I'm also a collector. So, and I'm not really much of a collector, but I do appreciate these things, to have these things.
Yeah, this is actually a really charming comic. If you can find it online or read it, I do recommend it. It's really nice artwork, and the humor in it is great as well.
It's called What's Michael.
What's Michael?
And it's really cute.
And it was published by Dark Horse Comics.
It's from back in the 80s, though.
Yeah, it's from back in the 80s, but this is like from a few years back. But Super Manga Blast.
I mean, in Japan when it was originally.
That's original, right?
I think
probably.
So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
this is a Japanese version of it.
Beautiful. Cats like walking around.
Super cute. Kyle says, once the pandemic clears, there are a few writers, reporters coming in from London to do some TV segments on my library museum. It was supposed to happen last summer, but that's really cool. Can't wait for that to happen. It's too bad they're coming to you, although they want to see your collection, but I'm sure it'd be nice just to be able to go to other places too. And Kyle is saying Walker created Beatle Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I used to read it.
Yeah. It seems like we've completely no, we didn't. We haven't full circled at all. We've completely gone in a different direction talking about comics. And really appreciate like everybody coming on today. And when we were talking about music, I think we lost a bunch of people because we started talking about comics. but really really appreciate everybody coming on and like participating in the music stuff, because that was a lot of fun. And again, like if there's I would actually love to have some suggestions about like what we could maybe all do next, in terms of some kind of a list or putting something together that would be actually fun for us all to do again, because I felt like this was a lot of fun for us to be able to do and to share. And I'll just share what Kyle just said. I have Jiri manga that goes back to 1922, where a friend of mine in Osaka had a warehouse find of numerous old issues and has forwarded a few my way. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Oh yeah, The Far Side. So
Far Side, yeah.
Yep. It was also one of my favorites back in the day too. But again, like, where do people like read comics nowadays?
Well, there was
I guess people
probably online. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Far Side, that was good. And Herman, remember Herman? It was like a one panel joke gag, kind of like The Far Side.
I don't know Herman.
No.
No.
Okay.
I'm sure there's people. If
What?
people know Henry, then they must know Herman. That's what I'm thinking.
Do people remember BC?
Kyle is saying, didn't mean to hug so much. No, not silly at all. No, please. No, like we were talking about the stuff, and you know so much and have connections to all this stuff, and it's and I'm able to give context to it, and believe me, like Joe doesn't have any fun talking to me about this stuff. So for him to be able to have people talk to him about stuff that he knows so much about is really appreciated. So thank you so much. Yeah, so Kathy, you're saying Calvin Hobbes. Yep. So cool. Love Calvin and Hobbes. Don't like all the weird stuff that they do to Calvin sometimes, like of him like peeing and stuff, because that's not a licensed thing that they do.
He never licensed out those characters.
Bill Watterson didn't do any licensing of Calvin and Hobbes stuff, so it always kind of bugs me when I see people just doing weird things to Calvin, or like trying to like misrepresenting him, I feel like in different ways. But I know I'm sort of like going back and forth and all over the place, but I really had a lot of fun putting together this this terrible music festival idea, and I love like seeing like different people's ideas of what it was to put together like a bad music festival, or the worst music festival. I'm curious to know if y'all have maybe some suggestions for future ones, because I really this again, like, it's a lot of fun for me, but also it helps me, like, especially when I'm feeling a little bit sort of down in the dumps, or I'm feeling a little not as energetic. So if we can have this kind of interaction and fun, it really means a lot to me. So JPS was saying, sorry I mocked the bands you're friends with, Kyle. As a friend of Zach Hampel, I know what it's like to hear people say awful things about your friends. Aww.
Well, it's I mean, it's just opinions, really.
And it's not about, I mean, maybe we're being it's
like I like Kiss, and I know a lot of people hate Kiss. She hates Kiss, and I mean, even parts of Kiss, certain eras and certain songs, I don't like. I don't like everything Kiss did. I think there's a lot of crap.
But I think the difference here is that Kyle knows these people. Like, you don't necessarily.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
No members of Kiss. So, but I think that we were having fun.
Yeah, that's all it is.
And and it's not as though, and sometimes I think we cross the line between something we don't like about what somebody does or the kind of thing that they do and the person that they are. And I don't think that we did any of that.
No.
I don't feel like. I think that if anything, we've maybe talked about how we don't like certain music for certain reasons or whatever. But I don't think we necessarily said, well, so and so is X because of the music that they make. And some people do that. And I think the one thing, it's funny, I end up talking about Zach a lot too, is that people talk about like the person that Zach is, like based on what he does, which is a very strange thing to me because like he, like just because somebody does something or is doing a certain kind of thing doesn't mean that and if somebody doesn't like it doesn't mean that they're bad people as a result of that always kind of confuses me about how people can be. Kyle is saying, I have shelves full of collected comic strips, newspaper comic sections going back over 100 years, and comic satire mags like Puck, Punch, and Judge, going back to the mid I'm gonna say mid 1850s.
Oh,
1850s.
Wow.
Joe would probably have like he would just be there for like weeks and weeks and weeks
and should open up a museum
and not sleep and just look through all your stuff. And Kyle's saying, no mockery really taken. Musical taste is subjective, and considering I'm a lifetime fanalo. Fanalo is funny. I've never heard that before. See, Karma says no kiss.
There you
go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mid, not mud. we sorted that out. But Fanalo. I've never heard that before. But I'd imagine that he puts on a good live. Yeah. We saw, what's his face? In Vegas.
Wayne
Newton in Vegas. And I would never say that I'm a fan of Wayne Newton's, but he certainly put on like a show. I mean,
it was an entertaining show. And
it was
to hear the stories of what it would be like back there, and it's a small little room we played in, but it's kind of it was. I'm glad we did.
Yeah, I'm totally glad that we saw Wayne Newton, and as much as like it can feel sort of like cheesy or something like that, but I'm like it felt like a throwback, and I'm sure that that's sort of how they mean it to be. But I'm incredibly glad to have been able to see Wayne Newton. And I would say the same for Brian Wilson. I'm not a big Beach Boys fan, but I'm really glad that I had an opportunity to see him, even though I mentioned it in a previous live stream. It was kind of sad to see him because he's not in a good place. But I don't know how relevant that is in talking about what we've been talking about. But JPS was saying, yes, I was going to bring up something to make fun of myself too. I like Air Supply. Brings me back to when I was a little kid in the back seat of the car, and I love it. What am I going to do? Yeah. What would be, so your
Air Supply?
No, not Air Supply. Like, so for you, would you say it's Kiss that you like that maybe, other people might not necessarily?
Well, I mean, I would say that, but I mean, there's a lot of artists, a lot of I'm trying to think of another one. Like I'd say Paul McCartney. A lot of people don't like Paul McCartney. Like I don't like some of Paul McCartney's music for sure. Like I didn't like anything off that Egypt station record. I thought it was, not very good. But
I don't know. But I think we're talking about.
Like but some people don't like Paul McCartney, like anything he did, like in the Beatles or solo or whatever.
But I think more people would be okay with McCartney than not okay. But whereas there are some bands, like, we're talking about Nickelback and stuff, like where there's a lot of people that don't like Nickelback. And so if somebody today was like, hey, actually, I like Nickelback, and Kyle was going like, I don't mind Nickelback. Um, something like that, like something sort of in that kind of realm, um, like I could see like how some people, for instance, Beatles and the Stones, like some people like the Stones more than the Beatles or blah blah blah. But
Mm-hmm.
I think we're talking about like certain kinds of bands that maybe people are like, oh, like you like that band.
Some people don't like the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't like the Eagles. I certainly don't like the Eagles. But I'm trying to think about like what mine would be. Karma says we could share a song we have on iTunes that we wouldn't want anyone to know about. Idea for the future. Actually, like that a lot. What's like your guilty pleasure? Would that be? What do you think, Karma? Like a guilty pleasure, or how might you put that? Or like some a song that people um, wouldn't want anyone to know about. Yeah, I definitely probably have a number of those. Kyle says Tracy Chapman live, Pearl Jam, and others at Tibetan Freedom Fest concerts gave some of the most amazing performances, especially in the bad weather of that show. Yeah, so Tibetan Freedom Fest, that probably would have been awesome. That I'm sure was awesome. I know a couple people who were there for it, and that would have been Adam Yauch from the Beasties who put that together. I know. That would have been an amazing show. James is like, no Eagles, how sad. not not an Eagles fan,
but they have the biggest selling record of all
time.
Eagles' greatest hits. So
Still,
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw that thing on David
Geffen. Mm-hmm.
He signed them.
Mm-hmm. That's a really interesting documentary too. If people are interested in watching a documentary about the music industry, but not just the music industry, I guess, but just an interesting person, and also sort of like a moment in time that he was able to capitalize on, I would say, is the David Geffen documentary on Netflix that we saw recently. It actually kind of got me into a weird mind state, that particular um, documentary. I thought it was fascinating. I think he's fascinating, and again, like just to know that he just really was able to capitalize on a very specific moment in time that things were happening, and the guy is now worth like over $1 billion and things. But just there was something in that documentary where I was like, imagine having somebody of that level of clout and belief and drive just being behind you. So they had he had some incredible artists that he backed, but is it possible that if it wasn't Geffen, like would Guns N' Roses, would they have been the band that they were?
Even Nirvana,
or even Nirvana.
Yeah.
And so it's so I was just thinking about how like just how like some people just are very talented, but they also like luck out in a way where you have like somebody come along who just believes in you and says, okay, like I'm gonna do everything to just clear your way so you can do whatever it is that you are able to do. And there was just something about that where I'm like, wow, like there is certain things in the world that happen that can really propel things to happen. But this was oh yeah, Arsemio, do you want me to send you this on a knife sticker and pick? Oh, that would actually be lovely. I just don't want to be I don't want to ask too much, I guess, because you've been so generous in offering these things.
Oh, thank you. Henry's stuff.
Oh my God. Look how happy Joe is right now. to get it. Yes,
Like,
that would be really awesome. Thank you, Kyle, so much.
Henry, thank you, Kyle. Oh my goodness.
That you've made like Joe's life. I think like by the
Henry.
Henry stuff.
Let's walk around.
You just gonna become Henry now? Is
Yeah.
that sort of the thing?
Yeah. Shave my head. Wear shorts. Have really
Really weird
knees.
I don't know how you manage that. Like do you draw that on your?
I guess so.
But Karma had suggested that that we share a song that we wouldn't want anyone to know about. Maybe are there other suggestions for what we might be able to do next in terms of sharing different things with one another? Because I think that would be really cool thing to do. JPS is also saying, I saw the New York City Tibetan Freedom concert, which was 1997. I think the first one was 96 in San Fran. I only thought that it was actually in San Fran. But again, I bet that would have been cool. Did the Beastie Boys ever perform for Tibetan Freedom Fest? I'm wondering. Bumping Into Geniuses by Danny Goldberg is an amazing read. That if you want an insider's look into the industry, it's a must. Bumping Into Geniuses by Danny Goldberg. Okay, cool. I'll go check that out. I love inside stuff. I love inside baseball stuff. I love inside industry stuff. Like it just, there's always, I think that there's such a, people assume that what they see is everything, whereas clearly everything always has a backstory. There's always different sides to the story and different things that are going on. And I love just understanding more about how people operate and what's behind what they do and all that kind of stuff. So insider stuff and backstage stuff, behind curtain stuff, like I love all that stuff. So JPS says, yeah, 97 Beastie Boys were there. Yuck ran the whole thing 2 days. I went to only 1 day though. I want to say that they were I think in one of the Lollapalooza lineups, and I want to say that I have seen them once. Because maybe it's a bad memory or just something that I think is a memory. But I feel like I've seen them in the jumpsuits. Actually, wait, whoa. There's a lot going on here. So Kyle said I saw it in Milwaukee, Chicago, and DC. I'm going to say that that's a Tibetan Freedom Fest. I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen that. Danny helped launch Nirvana and others. It's, yeah, like, clearly these bands have talent and they had something, different, like Nirvana and Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, but it's timing too. It's being at the right place at the right time with the right people and
people believing in you. And I think the one thing about the Geffen documentary that really struck me was how he just, it's almost like he bulldozed a path for these really talented people to be able to do what they do. And maybe like my own little story is like I've always had to pave my own way, and that's the reality of like most of our lives, right? Is that we've all had to pave our own way. But I guess like when I was watching that documentary, I'm like, what would it have been like? Well, how would things have been different if there was somebody who was said, okay, just do what you do, but I'm gonna do whatever I can to pave the way for you for you to be able to be in the world and do what you do and to affect the world in the way that you do. I mean, I'm not talented at all, so I don't know that, I don't know how that would have worked out. But I guess like I was just been thinking a lot about that. But James is saying a topic could be movies that we like, but our friends and family hate. Movies, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, movies is a good one.
Should it be a different genre movies or just movies in general?
But movies that we like, but our friends and families hate.
Okay.
So very specific to, like, it's my favorite movie, but other people might not like it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I have to watch it on my own. Is that how that works, James? And James, I need to get your address to send. Yeah,
thing.
so I think that there's this thing that we're all trying to maybe have around. It's like, oh, like maybe we need to send addresses to each other. So I'm gonna reach out to you, James, and because we need to get the Tron thing out to you. JPS is saying, I was dating a girl who loved Bjork, so we went to the day that she played. Bjork actually is awesome live. I've seen her a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw her with
the
Sugar Cubes,
wow.
And that was Lollapalooza, and then I saw Bjork with Kathy actually. Yeah, she was great. She's great. Kyle says, you want a 100-plus-year-old baseball card in your package too?
Oh, wow.
What's Joe gonna say?
Thank you. Wow. 100-year-old baseball card. I guess it would be from a cigarette tin or something, right?
Oh, I don't know. So Kyle would be able to tell us.
Oh, thank you. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, Kathy's still here.
Yeah, she's there.
JPS Beasties Lola 94. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I did see that. See them then. And they were great live. And their documentary, I think it's on Apple, is really cool too. I don't know if you could call it a documentary. I think it's like a performance. It's cool. I really enjoyed that too. And Kathy says, love the movie idea. Love good bad horror movies. I don't watch horror movies, so I'd be out on that one. But I can certainly just participate for sure. But
no, yeah, because I could pick something that you don't like. You know what I mean? Like something that I like. So.
Yeah.
Especially for horror.
Which is like most.
That's not true.
It's so true. It's so funny because at this point now, whenever we watch movies, I don't even ask Joe anymore what he thinks because I know he's not gonna like it, and then I'm gonna get like kind of irritated. Like, why can't we just like the same things?
We both like Ratatouille, right?
We both. I love Ratatouille, and I've had people say to me, "I can't believe that you haven't seen Ratatouille." And I actually can't believe that I hadn't seen Ratatouille up until a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, after the baseball season was over anyway. But yeah, so cute, Ratatouille. So cute. And so Kyle says cigarette cards. Yes.
Yes, that makes sense. That's cool.
James is saying, I'm kind of sad about the baseball lockout. Also sad that Jays lost 2 good players.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lockout is sad. Because it was so interesting because things were really rolling because of the lockout, because people were trying to beat the lockout. But so there was a lot going on hot stove wise and signings and things like that. But it is sad that this lockout's what it is, and apparently there's really no closer than they were in May, which is terrible. So hopefully it doesn't become something that bleeds into the season, and that there's nothing like from now until God knows when, nothing like that would be just just
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, but Rob Manfred, he's just such an awful commissioner. Like all the things he's done, like it's bad where he gets booed, like at the World
I know, he
Series
gets
and
food everywhere.
booed everywhere.
Yeah.
So I have just a bad. I hope he doesn't goof it up, but who knows?
Well, it's not just him either.
I
It's
know,
also it's all the owners
but
and the players
like even
association.
today he was talking and he was just like stumbling over his words and I don't know, just
Well, I don't know. He's been worse.
yeah,
Uh,
it's true. It's been worse.
JPS says Kyle's gonna offer me a baseball card and send me a signed glossy by Tenor Rob Thomas. That's that.
That's funny.
And all the lyrics that like Rob Thomas would have written. It's so funny.
Yes,
But James, I'm wondering how you're feeling about the fact that they have the Braves haven't signed Freeman yet, because I was actually gunning for the Jays to sign Freeman. I know it's crazy. It's not going to happen. And it was, just there's also the question of what the Yankees are doing, because they're not doing anything. They haven't done anything apart from tender everybody.
I don't think they're gonna do anything like a big contract. I don't think they're gonna be giving out another 300 million, like a giant contract, because they still have to sign Aaron Judge next year. Like
the Yankees have a big problem
Yeah.
right now. I don't think they know what they're doing with their team.
Yeah.
And now that they have like this lockout, they can't do anything. So it'll just be interesting to see what they come up with. But the fact that they haven't really done anything up until this point is interesting. But James, I am curious. Yeah, he is. He's nervous about Freeman. I would be too. I mean, you would have thought that he would have just signed, but I guess he's enjoying his the courtship that everybody's just probably wining and dining him and his family, and probably getting a lot of trips right now to different cities and things like that ahead of. I guess it probably would have stopped by now, but
even if he does leave Atlanta, Atlanta has enough young players to, I think, get by. I know it's a big loss for them, but there's so much young talent on Atlanta that I think they can, you know, plug someone else in there, and it won't be the same. But I think they can be still very very competitive.
Yeah, but I think that this is more about having a franchise player.
Yeah, no, for sure,
and not wanting to lose a player who's been there through thick and thin and has been a really good um, person, and like within the community, and how they've been representative, like is a franchise guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And not and good franchise guys don't come along all the time, and I feel like Freeman's one of those guys, and I think people in Atlanta would be just devastated to lose him, and if he were to go anywhere else, but also if Freeman does end up somewhere else, I think that particular team would be very lucky to have him.
Yeah, for sure.
But the one thing I do think about Freeman is that he's just won a ring, and he knows his value, I would imagine. His agents probably very much know his value, and I don't think he'd be going to someplace like the Yankees, because I don't think he would want to deal with New York.
No.
Why would he? Especially when he could stay in Atlanta and probably get like a lot of money, and for people just to be Freeman fans and not be New York annoying people. And I don't think he would probably go to a place like Boston either. But I could see how maybe he could think that Toronto would be a good place for him. because he does have some Canadian um, connections and things like that in his family. I think he's played for Team Canada. Um, that's far fetched, James. I don't think it'll happen, but I can see how you're nervous about that though. But it would. I mean, I think it would devastate. Like it would just people would just be blown away if he were to sign anywhere else but Atlanta. I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So, but it's too bad that they didn't do it before the lockout, though, right?
Yeah.
So that you just know that that's what's happening. And in terms of the Jays losing Simeon and Ray,
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually okay with it.
Yeah. We weren't going to get Marcus Simeon anyways, just because his agent was Scott Boras.
He signed with Boris.
Yeah, and like he hates the Jays. Like he doesn't like to do business with the Jays. So
Well, that's changed a little bit since the Shapiro Atkins thing's been happening in Toronto. And Boris, I think at the end of the day, is just trying to make as much money for himself and his clients. And I personally think that Simeon didn't necessarily want to come back. I think that Simeon signed with the Jays last year as a business decision, not so much because he wanted to play for the Jays, but because he wanted to be able to show his value to the league, and he did, and he was able to sign. I think he wanted to. I think he wants to play in the States. He never. There isn't really anything. I haven't seen any interviews of him that really talks fondly about Toronto or the organization or the fans at all. And so I've always gotten the sense that it was just a business decision for him.
mm-hmm.
And he made a really good business decision. And it sounds like he was a really great guy in the clubhouse for those young guys. And those young guys really, really liked him for it, but it didn't feel like reciprocal. Like these young guys would say these really great things about him, and he would just be like, "Yep, young core. They learned a lot from me." And it's like, okay. And in terms of Ray, um, it's the same kind of thing. Like I didn't get a sense at all that he just wants to play, which makes sense, but not because it's in Toronto or for Toronto. Like I got the sense that he just really wants to. He's a guy who just wants people to know what his value is, and when he won the Cy Young, there wasn't any indication at all of him thanking again, like the fan base or even the coaching staff of the Jays or anything like that. He just said, off season, I made a bunch of tweaks with my old coach, and that's what allowed me to be successful this year. So so it was really interesting. Whereas the guys that they signed, I'm sure this is really fascinating to all of you who love don't love baseball, but we signed a bunch of guys who want to be in Toronto. So they signed Berrios. He didn't even go into free agency. Next year, he has an opportunity to go to free agency, and he extended with Toronto rather than going to free agency, and said that he and his family want to be in Toronto. That they love the city. They love the vibe. They love feeling safe, and they want to play for Toronto. And they had Yimi Garcia that signed, saying the same sort of thing. I want to play for Toronto. I want to play for this fan base. And the same thing, very similarly to Gosman, who signed from the Giants.
Yeah.
There's a weird video that the Jays put up in social media of him talking with his wife in the background, kind of just like sort of like looking. It was funny, but he these guys are all like excited to play for Toronto, and I think that just watching that and like hearing that is more exciting to me than a guy who's just there to do his job, because at the end of the day, I mean, these guys are like, it's a job for them. But to say that they'll want to um, do a good job for us is a feeling. I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, you have anything to say about?
No, I feel the same. Like Robbie Ray, I just think apparently they weren't too far off, but
5 million.
5 million.
The
But
Seattle Mariners.
yeah, I think it's probably for the best because I think Robbie Ray, like I just remember that game where you know he was way over. Like there was one game, critical game with the Yankees
The
that they
last game.
lost. They lost like one of these games they should have won, and because he wouldn't come out, and he kept like he was way over 100 pitches, and then he gave up like 2 home runs or something, and
Mm.
I think we saw that game.
Yeah, we saw the entire series that game.
Yeah,
That's when James and V were in town. Yeah, but that's also like a managerial thing, right? Like,
yeah, but Robbie Ray was like, no, I'm going to finish this, and I mean because I don't want to upset my ace,
yeah, but that's a managerial
pitcher. I'll leave him in, but then he was just out of gas, right? I don't know. I mean, it just kind of seemed like his um, attitude or his ego. That game could have went very different, but whatever. So
Well, it's yeah. I
it's
mean,
baseball. So.
but yes, it's hard to know like whether like if they had taken him out.
Yeah.
The,
It's
the,
like in the World Series a few years back where Matt Harvey is saying to his manager, "No, I'm staying in," and the manager left him in, and then he just got rocked. Like, and the Mets like kind of lost that World Series.
And now Matt Harvey pitches for the Orioles, and
right.
he's
Bad.
Anywho, yeah. but yeah, like in terms of how I'm feeling about the Jays and their signings, like I went on and on about that, and it's also been interesting that before the deadline yesterday, that Marcus Stroman is signed with the Cubs. So that's an interesting thing because I think he was trying to maybe see whether or not Toronto would maybe go for him, and I know that there's a lot of people who love Marcus Stroman here, but we don't. And so we're glad that he's like maybe having a fresh start over at over in Chicago.
Yeah, I it's almost like his ego, and like when he was here, he would say things and all this kind of stuff, and it's almost like poison in your clubhouse.
A lot of people said that
when you have young players, like
it wasn't a positive clubhouse.
Yeah.
During 2015.
Yeah, he's a good pitcher, but he's not like I don't think he's won a Cy Young.
No.
And games that really mattered, I don't know if he was lights out. Like I don't remember that.
I don't know that he's actually been able to pitch in a lot of scenarios where it's mattered. Right. Apart from the World Baseball Classic, and I think that he got an MVP for that. But the guy has a chip on his shoulder, and a lot of people like the fact that he does have a chip on his shoulder. Some people don't. Yeah. And I think that I'm sort of one of the people who are like, it's good to have intensity, it's good to have passion, but I don't know that there's a limit to that, and it's not just you. There's other people. Again, hearsay, right? But some of the we've gone to events where people, journalists, would talk about different things, not too candidly, but sort of saying, yeah, he had his influences and things like that, and you kind of get a sense that he didn't rub everybody the right way. So yeah. So Kyle is saying, I have Blondie comic books that go back to 1948.
Blondie.
Felix the Cat comic books that go back to 1944 and many
Ooh.
others like that in my 10,000. Holy
Rousseau
moly.
comic collection. Wow.
Wow, 10,000.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow. How do you, how, I'm just curious to know how um, you keep track or how you know. Is there a system that you have, or is it just like innately, like you just remember these things? I'm sure like it's more than that. Like there like must be a way that you catalog them somehow. But that's incredible.
I'd be curious to know if you have, say, a first appearance, but multiple times. Like, do you have the first appearance of, let's just say, I'm trying to think of a character. Um,
But didn't he
let's
show
not
that in
do.
his? Didn't he show that in his?
No, no. I know he's got a bunch of first appearances, like of different characters.
But also
I'm
like
wondering.
multiple copies though. Didn't he?
I don't know if I saw that. Like,
I thought I saw that.
I was curious if you had like, oh, I have first appearance of Luke Cage like 10 times over, or like Ghost Rider or something like that, or Moon Knight. I think would be.
I feel like in one of
I'm
the
sure he
videos,
does
yeah, like
out of
he
ten
there's
thousand
yeah
comics.
there's a few where he said that he had a couple of
Mhm.
different copies of the same.
Yeah.
So this actually reminds me of like one of the things that when Joe and I first when Joe and I first started dating, I Googled him. And the thing that came up was an interview that he had done with a local TV station, and it was just when the Spider-Man one
Yeah, the
movie
first Tobey
had
Maguire
Tobey
movie.
Maguire had come out, and I guess he was at a comic book store or something, and he got interviewed, and the quote that he had in that article was how he buys like multiple copies, like one to read and one to
No, that's fake
one to collect.
news. No,
But isn't that what it said?
yeah, it said that, but it was fake news. Like I, um, I used to work a night shift doing printing, so I would work midnight. I would get off at like 10 in the morning or something like that. I was exhausted, up all night just printing, printing, printing. And sometimes I couldn't get to sleep. I was like wide awake in the morning. So I would kill a few hours and go to, um, I think it was probably the Silver Snail. And
Which was an iconic. It still
iconic Toronto,
is,
yeah, it's
but
around, but it's not as big
not what
as
it
it
used to
used to
be.
be. Comic book
Sort of like a
store.
Midtown Comics
Yeah,
type of place,
yeah,
except in
yeah.
Toronto.
So I used to go there in the mornings, and at that time, I guess the early 2000s, I was getting back into comics because I collected them as a kid. I stopped around the mid 90s, um, when they were doing all the hologram covers, and the art got really shitty, and it was all like gimmicky covers, and so I, like most comic book readers at that era, we just got sick of it, like bad stories, bad art, like hologram covers,
So,
and I quit. So in the early 2000s, like 2001 or whatever, I kind of got back into comics. Like, oh, look at this! They went back to, they dropped all that stuff of gimmicks and holograms and just doing 9 panels a page. Great, and so I was back into comics, and I was at the Silver Snail, and it was just like some news crew was in there talking about the first Spider-Man movie because it was coming out, and they literally just put words in my mouth. I said something like, "Well, I buy a copy, but if there's another issue or something like that's a nicer copy, I'll upgrade um, my other copy." But they just kind of made all that up on the spot.
but how is it different than what they said then?
Well, because they said that I buy one copy to keep and one copy to read, but I never said that. It was more like,
Wow, that took a long
if
time to
there's,
get
I
there,
know,
though.
but so they jumbled, and actually, there was a little bit on the news or something where they jumbled up, like they totally, I think people were
They
excited
edit.
for that movie,
Yeah.
and they just did this like really kind of negative spin on it, I guess.
I guess, like, by at that point, like, the quote
But
unquote, like, nerd culture stuff was still not
yeah,
a
yeah,
thing.
there were
And
Comic Cons and stuff, but they weren't like massive
yeah,
like they are now, and
now.
that's something I kind of
So
miss.
they might have spun back then,
Mhm,
like, oh, like, you're a nerd or whatever, in
mhm.
this negative way. I know, like, it bothered you a lot, like, for whatever reason. I guess maybe, like, just feeling like you've been misquoted.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't want to be. I don't know. I mean, it's stupid too because I was like half asleep when they shoved a mic and camera in my face, and I don't even really think they asked permission either.
I'm sure they asked permission.
So
Or they took it like the fact that you talked to them as permission.
yeah.
Kyle says, I'm an old school Encyclopedia Brown. My wife has been harping me for years about cataloging them. I refuse to hoard multiples, and when
Mm.
I have extras, I tend to share them out. So
Oh,
there you
well,
go.
that's great.
Yeah, yeah. And Kathy's like, I'm out. This has
Hi,
been
Kathy.
oh, this has been fun. I always love seeing you guys. I need to go to bed, of
All
course.
right.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for hanging out as long as you did. And thank you so much for, I know, like, I sent you like this information, and we're going to do the movies thing.
That's a good
So,
one.
yeah, and the idea is that we're going to do this every couple of weeks. So if you can join in every couple of weeks or so, that would be great. And if not, like, we'll be here every couple of weeks, hopefully. So, and it's been good. And I love being able to have Kathy.
Yay.
Good night, Kathy. Thank you.
Good night.
Kathy and I had gone to so many concerts together.
Hmm. And
And
what's impressive about both of you, you kept all your ticket stubs.
a
So,
lot of them.
yeah. I know Kathy at her. Well, you have a board where you tack them all up.
Yeah. She has a beautiful display of them
Yeah,
all.
she did a wonderful display of I guess those frames that you put albums in.
Mm-hmm.
She bought like 3 or 4 of the 5 of those, and they're up her staircase, and it's like a collage of all the ticket stubs that
It's great.
she. Yeah, it's really cool, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, wow, you saw Nirvana, and you saw Hole, and you saw The Cure, and
Sonic Youth.
Sonic Youth, all
Like,
these
so many
bands,
great
crazy.
bands. Yeah. JPS says, do you feel like 40-year-old version was the moment when nerd culture officially became accepted? Maybe not that cut and dry, but I feel like it was a big moment
Yeah,
for it.
good movie.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Iron Man. Is that after 40-year-old
Mm,
version?
yeah, I would probably say, I'm trying to think. I have to say probably the first Spider-Man movie because, you know, yeah, Blade was before, that came
Mm.
out before, and there were like 3 of those movies, and that was actually the first comic book movie that was a success from Batman and Robin, which was a huge bomb. And there
Mm.
was a bunch of bombs of comic book movies like Judge Dredd and stuff like that. Uh, but I would have to say the first Spider-Man movie because it was like 2001 or 2002, and it was just after 9/11, and I remember people just went nuts for superheroes. Like they went nuts for that
That makes
film.
sense, I guess.
They went,
Yeah.
and I just remember people were buying like action figures of superheroes and comic books, and all these movies just started really coming out like
Mm.
from like, cause Spider-Man made a ton of money
Mm-hmm.
the first and second movie,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was like Daredevil and the Fantastic Four, and the X. Actually, the X Men too
Mm-hmm.
maybe that was the first one, the
Maybe
very first X-Men movie.
maybe the 40-year-old version was a reflection of the fact that nerd culture
Yeah,
is.
it mentioned it. Like it
It's not.
wasn't
It's
like
not. No, it's not necessarily like mentioned, but the fact that like this is like in some ways it's sort of like sending it up with because of the fact that he's like a virgin and everything like that, but the fact that it's like, oh, like there are people that this is a big part of their life, and this is um so it's almost like maybe the first time in culture that it was mentioned that there are people who are into this kind of stuff. But I think
or
that
it was okay to be into this stuff, to like this
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
as an adult.
right.
And it was, yeah, I mean, because even there was a comic book about the Transformers, and no one gave a shit about the Transformers for years, and that kind of blew up, and then the movies
What are we
happened, and
talking about? What are the Transformers?
there was a comic book that they did in the early 2000s where they brought back the Transformers
Okay,
and did it in this like really kind of cool art style,
right.
and people went nuts over that. Like
Huh.
it just like it rekindled people's love for the Transformers, especially people who grew up with it. And then the movies happened kind of because of that.
The
And
Transformer movies.
yeah, which I don't like at all,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was around that time, early 2000s, where stuff from the 80s and 70s was becoming um, cool again. If that makes any sense, like 80s toys or video games or comic books, and like, people just went really collecting this stuff.
I think for somebody like me who didn't identify with that stuff at all, and it's only knowing Joe where I would know stuff about any of this like MCU stuff or whatever. And I don't know like if you and I have never met, like, so it was before, so we met before a lot of the MCU stuff happened, and because Joe was into a lot of this stuff, like I started kind of knowing about these things myself, but I certainly wouldn't have. I've never gone into like a deep dive. I'm not a collector, I'm none of those things. But I think as somebody who wasn't into this stuff, for me, the moment where I was like hooked was Iron Man 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that moment where, right from the beginning, where he's drinking and he's in that armored tank or whatever it is, and he's kind of, charming the soldiers or whatever. I remember thinking to myself, you know what, I'm in. I buy into this. This is interesting, and there's something quirky going on, and I'm in. And so, since then I've, probably can speak pretty, knowingly, like just sort of like I have some knowledge about MCU stuff, and through a little bit of like what Joe has told me, like I know some DCU stuff, but for me, as somebody, I think outside of having these kinds of interests, Iron Man 1 for me was the moment where I was like, oh, like that kind of was what got me.
Yeah, and that was a huge moment, and that movie did wonders for that character, because Iron Man was like a B-list character. All like, yeah, like people liked him, but you know he was kind of forgotten about. So that movie put Iron Man right up there in the ranks of Batman, Superman, Spider Man,
Yeah, like
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 up
you were
in.
saying, the
Oh
trinity
yeah,
of the DCU, and for a long time with
yeah.
with how the MCU was designed, it was Cap and Iron Man,
Yeah, and I
Cap, Iron
mean,
Man, Thor.
you know what? I mean, you can argue, but you see little kids, and we saw them going to that Avengers station.
Mm-hmm. They have
Um,
one here now too.
yeah, like we walked by it or something, and we saw some kids going there with their mom, and they were dressed up Iron Man, Captain America.
Yeah.
You know, you
Mm-hmm.
don't really see a lot of kids dressed up as Superman
No.
or T-shirts or stuff, but you see the shields, you see,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Well, they
all
were
the.
going to the shield thing, so they
Yeah,
wouldn't be
I
wearing
know,
these stuff.
but
So,
I'm just saying in general. So.
yeah. Kyle's saying just finished the big comic trade with a friend in Saint Luc, which has an issue of one of those old popular comics issues, along with some 40s timely marbles that should be here in a few weeks.
Nice,
Oh, maybe
timely. Wow.
we
So that
still.
would be like the Human Torch or the Submariner in the 40s, like timely, before they were Marvel.
So Kyle first said American Splendor did wonders. That would be
Yeah,
Harvey Pico.
yeah, Harvey Picar, yeah.
Yeah. And Kyle says, Joe, do you know Johnny Reisler? Reisler?
I don't.
And
Is that like the spirit? Like,
right.
or the Phantom?
And Kyle says, of course, the Kevin Smith movies. That's true too.
That's true, yeah.
Did a lot for nerd.
Mallrats.
Yeah. Lots of swag in the library from them too. Yeah. Kevin Smith seems like, um, again, like just from the outside view in, he seems like a guy who's been able to create a niche for himself, and not only create a niche for himself, but also supporting his friends, and supporting the people that have been with him almost like since he's a kid, and even down to the secret stash and all that kind of stuff that he has going, which I think is a really cool thing that he does, and it's true. I mean, he's just stayed true to the stuff that he's interested in, and has really been good at pushing all that stuff for himself. Kyle says traded Avengers 57 and other goodies for that package. Kyle says Johnny is one of my best friends in the Montreal area.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know.
We're in Montreal.
I thought you were talking about like a pulp hero or something, like the Saints or the Spirits. Or
is he an artist though?
Is he an artist? Or writer?
Yeah, we were in Montreal about a month ago. Really quick trip.
Yeah, very quick.
Really quick trip. But Montreal is a lovely place, wonderful place.
There's a wonderful, didn't get a chance to go to it this time around, but there's a giant flea market there, around, is it St. Laurent or something like that? It's massive. It's got like 2 floors. There's so much stuff in there. You could be in there for hours.
Yeah.
So look it up. It's
if you happen to be in Montreal.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in there.
Yeah. You've found some stuff in there.
Yeah, in the past.
Yeah. Oh, he's another collector.
Oh, he's another collector. Okay.
We can have a meeting at some point. Hopefully.
What is Avengers 57? Is it like first Wonder Man or?
Joe doesn't know.
I don't know. I never read the Avengers. I liked the Avengers, and I maybe had a couple comics in the 80s, but I mostly collected Amazing Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Incredible Hulk.
Says my writing compatriots are mostly in the UK.
Okay.
So Johnny is a. So if you're ever he's a collector.
He's a collector
in Montreal. So maybe if Kyle ever goes to visit Johnny, we can all have a little meeting.
Yes.
Have you been to? I'm sure you have. Kyle, have you been to Montreal? I'm curious. So those folks who are in the States, where have you been in Canada, if any? Kyle says first Wonder Man was issue number 9.
Oh.
57 is the first Vision.
Oh, First Vision. Okay, yeah,
I think Joe was in
I
the
was
process of looking it up.
That's a cool cover. I know because he's going like this over. It's a red cover. I know that cover, but yeah, I mean that's got to be a piece that must have really gone up with the Avengers movies and the WandaVision TV series.
So that Vision now at the end of the White, I don't know, they call him White Vision?
Yeah, there's one in the comic books. He is white.
Oh, what did they call him?
He's just called the Vision, but he's white. I think that happened like the late 80s or.
So Kyle says if my health would let me, I'd shoot up there tomorrow. Nice. And hopefully, with this new variant that they're talking about now, everybody stays safe, and we're not back in a 5th wave sometime soon, so that we can travel. Yeah, I mean, for me as well, my hope is that like my health holds up, and we're able to do hopefully some traveling once hopefully the baseball season might begin, because that would be that there are still like a lot of stadiums that I would like to see, and places that I'd like to see as well. Yeah. JPS is saying, I've been to Niagara Falls in Toronto 3 times for a few different Jays games, and the road in between, but that's it. Oh, so you must have driven here,
right?
And from Niagara Falls to here is not a very long, it's an hour and a half or so. So yeah, there probably wasn't too much to see between there and here. But when would that have been, JPS? I would imagine you probably were here to see Boston play Toronto. Curious about that. Horseshoe Falls way better than American Falls. Everybody knows it. We have a better view from the Canadian side over to the American side, I think. But you guys actually have the better falls. It's just that we get to see it because we're on the other side.
Yeah.
But
I agree with that.
Yeah. And
our side, they filmed Superman 2, where the kid falls over. So you can actually another thing too, and maybe next time we go back there, I think John Lennon and Yoko Ono visited Niagara Falls in 1969. So I like to, and they took a few pictures by like the rocks and the railing. I like to try to find where the exact spot where they were by looking at the picture, like with the brick wall, to see if I can, because it hasn't changed.
It hasn't
50
changed,
years,
but it's a long area to.
Yeah, but you can match it up with the background. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but like I think that would take.
Or even Superman 2, I could probably find the exact spot where Christopher Reeve goes, son. The kid falls over.
I bet you.
That's like right at the rim, where the how it curves in there. So.
I bet there's a lot of people who've maybe done that on YouTube and stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that would probably make it a little bit easier to find those spots. But I still think it would take a long time.
Actually, she was going to. Sorry, let me reach over. So here's a mug. It's a Starbucks mug, Niagara Falls. It's one of those "You Are Here" mugs.
You Are Here, been there.
Right. So
we have a ton of them.
Yeah. So we were gonna do like a video of going to the exact locations on each mug.
We did that for Montreal, actually.
We did that for Montreal.
But I didn't put the video together.
Yeah, she didn't put the video together. and even Niagara Falls. Find the exact points, like there's the Rainbow Bridge and stuff like that.
I don't know
Find them
that we
on the
were gonna
mug.
do it for Niagara
We
Falls.
did. We filmed it. Remember, Made of the Mist, and
No,
remember?
no.
No,
I
just don't
didn't think that
remember.
we had done that.
Sorry, I'll just put this here.
So Kyle says, been to Montreal numerous times, though not for a while. Been all over Canada too. And the Indianapolis Indians were the AAA franchise for the Expos for decades too. Just another fun connection. That's a really great connection.
Yeah. We were lucky to see a couple games in Montreal at Olympic Stadium when the Jays played exhibition games there.
Mm-hmm.
Which was great to watch a game there, but it's such a massive stadium.
It's a terrible place to actually watch
it
a game.
But the one thing I liked about it is the fans. It's very loud. Like they were banging on the seats. So yeah, Montreal needs a team. I don't know if it's going to be Montreal, Tampa Bay Rays, but they have to be in the American League East. But it totally makes sense.
Yes, 2004 Jay Sox, and then 2006 Jay Sox, and in 1999 stayed in a hotel near Skydome. But my friend and I botched the schedule, so no game there. No. But we saw prostitutes by the hotel. Nice. I don't know that that's nice.
Well, you don't see prostitutes anymore in Toronto.
Yeah, this JPS, you'll have to come back soon because it's actually changed quite a bit. Toronto from 2000. So the last time you were maybe here was 2006. It has changed a lot since 2006.
You're not going to see prostitutes by the Skydome.
No, definitely not. In fact, like we live relatively close, and yeah, it's such a different city now than it would have been back then. And hopefully next season we could see you up here and maybe with Zach, maybe. Jays fan in the stands in 2000 when the Jays last won the World Series. I watched it on TV. When the Red Sox won the World Series, there was no TV. He was right, but only a few more months. Yeah, that would have been an exciting time to be a Boston Red Sox fan. Because Toronto's had a little bit in the last little while, but I'm most excited about this team, to be honest. Like I mean, it was exciting back in 2015 when we did those trades. We got David Price, we got Tulo, we got Donaldson, all those folks. But and we had Bautista, we had Encarnacion, but they weren't personable players. And so, but whereas like these guys now with the Jays, they are having fun. You could tell they're not just having fun frivolously. They're playing to win, but they're also having fun. And I just yeah, like I'm so excited for this team. So again, like, you know, fingers crossed, health wise and all that kind of stuff. But I would love to see these guys win some more. JPS says, I would love to go back. I need a passport now. Gotta get one. Yep. You do. I've got a Joe Carter memorabilia card of a jersey swatch in my card case too.
Nice.
Jeez, Kyle.
Yeah, that was such a magic moment. Like I remember watching that game and him hitting that home run and just the excitement and just Yonge Street, walking up Yonge Street, and there's so many.
Back then.
Oh my God, there's so many people marching down Yonge Street, and you couldn't move. Like there was so many people that I ended up walking all the way from Yonge and Dundas,
which they don't have any kind of concept
which
of,
is like right downtown. I mean, that's our Times Square, I guess.
Kind of ish.
And I had to walk all the way home, like, because you couldn't get a bus or anything.
And how long?
The sun was coming up. I mean, it must have been like 6. or 7 in the
I know,
morning.
but how long would it have taken you to walk?
Oh my god, it took me a long time because you couldn't walk at a pace because there was still
There
so
was
many
tons of people.
people
What was really crazy
crowding
is
and
what's really crazy is like what I remember of that is that everybody just went out onto the streets, and of course I think those of us who are still here right now might remember what it was like not to have internet.
hmm
So people just spontaneously just showed up, just walked downtown when the Jays won, and I guess I mean, I don't know how it got organized,
yeah.
but people that's what we all did. And I remember my parents and we did the same thing, and we walked. It's probably a couple of hours or something like that from where we lived
hmm
to Yonge and Dundas, which is, as Joe said, is like right downtown. And just seeing all these people who were just so happy and spontaneous, it's cool because it's just in our memories as opposed to it's all over social media or whatever, and
hmm
that's cool too. And even seeing the Braves parade this year, um, and even when the Raptors won here a few years ago and stuff, it was cool to see. But like I mentioned previously, I'm not connected. I'm not a basketball fan, and it didn't feel right for me to be like celebrating when it didn't really mean a whole lot to me. So I didn't necessarily go out for the Raptors
yeah.
thing, but it
I thought it
was.
was great they won, and we watched those games, and I went out a little bit
Mhm.
just seeing everything, but it was kind of crazy out there too because I can't imagine what it would be like at Young and Dundas. It must have just been crazy.
It was crazy all around here too
Yeah,
because
we were
we're
watching it on TV,
yeah
some of it.
because we're not too far from. I don't think it's called ACC anymore.
No,
It's called something else now. Whatever wherever the
Air
Raptors.
Canada Center.
Well, that's what ACC
Right,
it was called, but I don't think that that's what it's called anymore. I think they renamed it something else.
Amazon Center.
Probably something like that. But I mean, and it feels like so different where things are seen through the scope of social media a lot of times now, as opposed to just things happening, and you wonder, right? Like going back to like 92, 93, or whatever. Like that's what happened with the Jays. And things like that happening spontaneously, and you can just experience it for what it is or what it was. But now, um, everything is through a smartphone or
hmm
whatever it is, and it's interesting. um, JPS says, you know what Joe Carter said about the Sitco sign in Boston, right? No, what did he say?
No.
And Kyle was like, would the Carter card find a happy home with you guys?
Oh.
I'm in Santa mode all year anyways, but seeing as though it's December, oh, wow,
No.
what a
Thank you.
treat. What a treat. Um, thank you, Kyle. My goodness. Um, that just feels like the holidays. It just feels like I wonder if there's any way that we can get back to you, Kyle, and I don't know how that's possible for us to be able to do, but if there's anything from Canada or something that we might have mentioned that you might feel like you have an interest in, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to reciprocate. We'd love to. We would want to. We would absolutely want to. Um, JPS says he hit so many home runs toward it. He said he read Sitco as "see it go."
Uh-huh.
Crazy how
Oh.
nobody had come up with that before him. In the 50 years the sign had been there by then. I always love that.
Mm.
Joe Carter is like a great personality, and yeah, and it's like we watch Hot Stove in the mornings on MLB Network, and at one point they had him as the mayor of Toronto
hmm
for for how like just he's just such a great personality. And that call though, right? That the touch 'em all Joe call. I think it is. one of the most iconic World Series calls.
Oh, for sure.
There's clearly a ton of them, but that "Touch 'Em All Joe" is a huge one for sure. And yeah, it's cool to have a guy like that represent us for sure. And Kyle's like, "You be happy and healthy for a good long time, and I'm, oh,
Thank you.
thank you so much. But but honestly, if there is something, I think clearly have like
Yeah.
so much. But if there's anything that you might know of that's here in Toronto that you would be interested in getting, or I mean, there's also like a ton of stuff around us here. Um, yeah, but thank you so much, and I'm like I mentioned it this is so great for me. I think it's great for us both to be connecting with you all in this way. But for me, just sometimes like I'll just get like kind of down. And uh, today was one of those days where I was feeling quite down earlier on, and just being able to do this and to be able to share our experiences, and just just getting to know all of you, and just conversing, and even JPS saying earlier, it's like, sorry about the Matchbox 20 thing. All that kind of stuff is just so cool and awesome. And yeah, postcard. I mean,
We can send you a postcard.
Joe is also an amazing illustrator, and
Well, I'm not amazing. I'm okay.
he should actually. I feel like he should do more of it. Um, but he's busy, kind of like running around and doing a lot of stuff, and he doesn't get to it too often. But hopefully, there's maybe something that he could doodle too. And Kyle says maybe some Canadian comics from Joe. Can you think of any Canadian comics?
I actually think I have caught an issue or two of Captain Canuck, which is a Canadian superhero. It's like a independent comic that I think came out in the 70s or 80s. I never read it. I may have one or two issues of it that I somehow ended up with.
Kyle, would that be?
Somehow,
I'd be surprised
I
if he
don't know
doesn't
what
have it, to be
issue, if
honest.
it's number 2 or 4 or 5, but I don't think it's number 1, but it's something like that.
Do you have any Captain Canucks, Kyle? And would that be something that you might be? And I think I have a postcard from Kyoto that maybe I can send you from my last trip to Japan. I'm curious to know when the last time you were in Japan, and have you gone back since you had served there? At some point, I would actually love to get more of your experience and like what it was like to be in Japan, because and perhaps like where some of your favorite places, or what you might have liked about Japan. That's something that I can talk forever about, because Japan is is where I come from, and it's also where my mom is, and it's one of the things that's been difficult the last couple of years. Of course, is like with the pandemic and everything like that, and how it's been so different here versus in Japan,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. And but I speak to her every day, and she's doing well. But the hope, like the biggest hope that I have, is that I'll have an opportunity to take a trip to Japan. Um, a nice long trip to
Mm.
Japan, and do some of the things that I thought I had maybe more of an opportunity to be able to do, but to maybe do the I think the dream for me is to be able to do the cherry blossom run, which is it generally starts from the southern tip of Japan, and it goes all the way up where the cherry blossoms blossom over time, and people do the trip to see all the cherry blossoms bloom in like March, April, like that kind of thing. Um, I mean, I don't think it's in the cards for next year, but maybe one day to be able to do that would be an amazing thing. Kyle was saying, even marble Canadian variants. I have many issues of Captain Canuck, including the first and several issues signed by creator Richard Comley. Do you know of any marble Canadian variants?
Yeah, I believe it's like something to do with the cover price. So it would be, at the time, I think it was 75 cents in America or 65 cents. It was 75 cents over here. Um, something would be the
Kyle,
price.
would you know specifically about maybe some covers that might have some Canadian variants that you might be looking for? Because I bet you there are some issues where it just has specific. It's a variant of a Canadian cover, not just of the price of the. It might actually be a different.
No. I mean that's what I think he means by the Canadian variants. I mean, they did do covers like that are, but more of a later thing. But I think back in the 70s and 80s, they did, and maybe even 90s, they did price variants because there was a difference with the exchange. So some issues of, say, X-Men that came out in Canada would be like $1.25, but in America it would be $1.
Is that what you meant, Kyle, or is there something specific that you might actually be thinking about that can maybe help us out? And because Joe does have a ton of different stuff, so
I could look and see.
But if you can give us an idea of like what you mean specifically by those Canadian variants, that might give us Joe a better idea to go on. Kyle said only did Japan between 88 and 91 on prolonged stays when touring the world. Wow.
I just need a drink. Oh.
That's amazing. Japan's also changed quite a bit from the time that I was born, clearly to now. But it's a pretty amazing place. Kyle says there's heritage French Canadian issues, also price variance. But if it isn't something he has right at hand, it ain't no biggie. Heritage French Canadian issues. So there might be some issues that are French variants.
I could look. I don't know if I do. Sorry, let me get over. I do remember back, I guess in the early '90s, around '91 or 1990, Todd McFarlane did these, Spider-Man comics. Like he did one, I believe, the cover, um, and I believe it was kind of like Kids Don't Do Drugs. And there was one of Spider-Man at the Sky Dome.
What?
Yeah, Spider-Man at the Sky Dome and some kid doing drugs or something. And I believe some of those were in French. They were English, and then there were some that were in French.
That might be a cool one.
I don't know if I still have any of them. but I could look.
Yeah. Yeah, especially
You probably knows what I'm talking about. So.
with maybe the Spider-Man and Skydome. Is that what you said? Spider-Man?
Yeah, because
Oh, wait,
Peter.
McFarlane did.
Yeah,
Did
well,
McFarlane do any other?
he did the cover of the first issue, but then other artists did like the other 3 issues or
Did
something.
McFarlane do anything other than Spider-Man
Yeah.
in terms of superheroes?
Yeah, he started on Incredible Hulk actually before uh, Amazing Spider-Man, and then he left Marvel because they weren't paying him, even though the guy was selling millions of comic books and so forth. And I liked his art. I wasn't too crazy about like his characters, like some of the faces and stuff. I thought were kind of weird looking, but he definitely did Spider-Man in a different sort of style. Um, like he was definitely more spidery, where I guess he says like most artists never updated Spider-Man or Peter Parker. Like he was still like it was the '80s and he was still wearing bell bottoms almost because they had this this impression of John Romita, this original Spider-Man artist. And they were just kind of copying that. So until he came along and changed everything and made the eyes bigger and
Yeah,
more.
McFarlane certainly put his own stamp on
Oh
things.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then he went off and did Spawn.
Did his own
and
stuff, yeah.
Mark McGuire's baseball.
So Kyle is saying there are a dime a dozen up there, but not so much down here. Just an odd side collectible thing I do and tend to write about with my stuff in the UK. So
Okay.
yeah, so if you can find some of that stuff, that would be cool. Wow, again, like wide-ranging stuff that we talked about. So and again, like thank you so much for hanging out with us for over
3
hours.
Wow.
And for that was so much fun today, and hopefully other folks had fun along with us. And like I said, like it's really helpful for me, but I'm also hoping that it's also a fun thing for those of you who's been sticking with us to be doing. And oh, Kyle saying I'm a reference guide with comics history on some of the bigger forums and books, but I won't bore everyone with that. You and Joe,
I don't find it boring.
you and Joe, honestly, if there is ever a time where it's possible for all of us to meet, it would be. I'm sure the two of you, like you and Joe, would just have a ball, and it certainly would be a really really cool thing for Joe. For me, like it's so fascinating, but I have to say, like it's um, gets into the bit of the deep woods for me a little bit with like the big collecting stuff. I think I could really just be like scratching the surface of things, but Joe certainly knows quite a bit about the stuff, and like if I'm like the tippiest of the iceberg, like Joe's probably about like a mile into the iceberg, and you're probably like deep dive of where the bottom of the iceberg would be beneath the ice, or beneath the surface. And I think that it would be a really cool thing for the two of you to be able to talk about this stuff. But like the fact that you share so much of your knowledge here, it's been really great. So thank you so much, Kyle. And he says, I was a Marine because of my lifelong Captain America complex. It's a good way. I mean, I guess that's part of the propaganda machine of like what they were trying to do with Captain America. So that worked, I guess. and again, like awesome to go into service with a moral compass. I think it's an amazing thing, and your service is amazing and so appreciated, even from up here in Canada. um, yeah, wow, it's so like incredible how like the time just flies. Like
Yeah.
we've just been talking about so many things, and I think we had a lot of fun with the music festival stuff, and I hope that everybody else did too. It was really great to. I mean, for to see like JPS's poster
Mm-hmm.
of what he put together,
Yeah,
and
that was great.
just even for us to deep dive into some of the things that we decided to put on our lists, and it was really cool. And yes, thank you so much for your service, Cal. Yeah. I always wanted to be a superhero, so I just try to always be the best human I can be. It's so
Mm-hmm.
true, right? Like these things, in one way, is like fictional, and people can write things, and have like these comic books, and we can idolize and all that kind of stuff. But we all also have the opportunity to do what we can in the world, in our own ways or whatever it might be. And I try to. Um, do whatever I can to support and make a difference. That's my sort of like life mission, in this chapter of my life, and really appreciate the support and the care that I get, and hope that I'm able to also provide some level of that for folks too. And again, like appreciate like so much of the 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 love and the care and the time that people have spent with me, and for you all to be here, and for us to be sharing what we did, and have, and hopefully in the future too. It means so much to me. So thank you so much. And JPS says yes, it was fun, and hopefully next time around we'll do movies.
Mm-hmm.
Of
That should be a good one.
Yeah, so our favorite movies, and movies that other people may not like, and also we'll share one song that we might not like for other people to know that we have. Kyle is saying, got a fun story about how I was the first recognized Zen Buddhist Taoist in the USMC, but that's for another time.
Mm.
Oh. Would you still identify as Zen Buddhist Taoist? Curious about that. And recognized. Yeah. And yeah, okay. That's a good lead in because I'm curious about like what what that story is about, and how because I'm U.S. Marine Corps, right? Is USMC. I'm just curious about how that the recognition would look like in relation to that. So that's really fascinating. Yeah. So yeah. So we're again. Thank you so much. Like 13, like we're at like 3 hours plus. It's amazing. If again, like any suggestions or any comments that you might have, or anything else that we could do before we sign off, please let me know. We'll stay on for a couple more minutes, and yeah, I can't believe it's December already, to be
I
honest.
know,
this
it's
is this is
crazy.
the one thing like this week that I was just
Crazy.
like blown away by. I was like, whoa, where did this where did November go? December's showed up,
Yeah.
and
It just seemed like it was Halloween, and then November just went right by.
yeah, yeah. I don't know what happened with and then even this week I kind of talked about it on Twitter, but you know how some weeks you think you're just off by a day, and Wednesday I was just like, I don't I this is Wednesday. I was I was thinking it's like a completely different day, number one. And number two, I'm like, it's December and it's a Wednesday. Like, what's happening? And just as I don't know, as a terms of like what's going on with me, I think that what's going to happen is that I have one more chemotherapy session this year. I think that that's how it's going to go. Is that next, not this upcoming Saturday, but the next Saturday is, I think, going to be my last chemo for the year, and then I think I get to take off a couple of weeks, or maybe 4 weeks, which would be good, I think, just to give me a little bit of more of a reset than a couple of weeks. And even though it makes me a bit nervous whenever we do a little bit of a pause in the chemo, I think it helps my system just to give it a little bit more of a rest before like going back in. And it'll be just nice to maybe have the holidays.
Yeah, but this time around too, you are taking the turkey tail supplements, which seem to be helping. So I mean, that's something. Where last time when you took that break, you weren't taking that stuff. But...
I mean, there are some like supplements that I take in and above the chemotherapy. I don't talk about it too much publicly because I know that's okay. That people have like their opinions about supplements and things like that, and I certainly don't want to be a person who says, "Oh, I'm taking these things," as though that's what I'm saying that other people should do, especially because I have been, like, knock on wood, I have been very, very fortunate in having my treatments have an impact. Like, so my chemotherapy has been able to stabilize for me, and I don't want to say, oh, I'm doing this and this, and have other people potentially feel as though that's something that they could or should do. I don't know. I'm not asked about it that often anyway, but there are some like supplements over and above what I do with the chemotherapy, but I don't tend to talk about it too much. But my feeling is that like everything that I'm doing is contributing to how I'm doing. That's sort of how I'm going with it. But yeah. So Kyle says, I've been a Taoist since the mid 80s, and I'm acknowledged Sufi mystic. Wow. A non-denominational Christian minister, mostly just for weddings and funerals. Just an all-around spiritualist searcher, really. I love that. Wow, that's amazing. It's too bad that we didn't know you 13 years ago. You could have married us. That would have been really cool. Rules changed around that time. I went in, so it really wasn't just first on record timing thing. That's really neat. So it's actually on record when you enlisted. I guess that's how maybe how that would have worked. That's really cool. Yeah, maybe we can renew our vows. And Kyle can officiate, and we could do it online or something. We can go to Indianapolis. Wow, that's so amazing. That is so cool. I write for Selfie Mystic journals, eulogize too much, etc. What do you mean utilize too much? and Kyle says, I'd be happy to renew your vows. Maybe something to think about. I mean, it's not, we haven't really talked about anything like that, but our wedding was at Disney World. We had the smallest wedding ever. They were probably like, Disney World was probably like, why are we even doing this? Because this isn't making any money for us whatsoever. But I've never gone to Disney World as a kid because as immigrant, coming from an immigrant family in Canada, my parents, their priority wasn't to go to Disney World. So I've always wanted to go to Disney World, and I took it upon myself. And Joe is so easygoing. He's like, okay, whatever you want to do. Planned this, like literally the tiniest wedding ever. And it probably to this day is probably the cheapest Walt Disney um, organized wedding that they've had. Um, and yeah, we should
Mm-hmm.
maybe like put the video up online or something like that. It would be really funny to do. How saying too many funerals.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, the eulogizing. Yeah, yeah, those are tough, and that's something at some point I'll probably talk a little bit more about at some point, but maybe not so much. We won't necessarily end off with that today, but yeah, like maybe I could just like throw it back to Kyle saying the world's second largest Tibetan monastery is just a few towns south of me, run by the Dalai Lama's brother. That's really cool. There's a lot going on in that area of yours, huh? That's amazing. Oh, here's Kudo. Here's little one. She's not very little. She's cute, but she's Joe's baby. The other way. These two bonded pair, aren't you? Yeah. So yeah, maybe at some point we could share our our weird Disney World wedding video, and we could also maybe at the same time renew our vows, and might be a fun thing to do, and we can have Kudo the cat as the flower cat. Maybe that wouldn't go very well actually. It would not go very well. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
But I was saying, been reflecting a lot on a life well lived with my last 2 years of cancer treatments. Yeah, I mean, I have to say that
Sorry.
I'm, you know, I can very much relate to that. And I, just from what you have shared with us, Kyle, like I feel like your life has been so full, in so many different ways. And again, like thank you so much for sharing so much of that with us here, or some of that with us here. And whereas like I don't know, like it's sort of like what I was saying about Geffen earlier, and just feeling like I feel as though I wish that there was more that I had done, and maybe still hopefully have the opportunity to do more. Don't know like what that's going to look like, or how that's going to be possible, but I certainly would love to be able to experience and have more more to have experience and more to give, still with whatever time I have left. So I certainly have my own reflections on that as well, Kyle. So I can relate in my own way. It's been fun, kiddos.
It's been fun.
It's always been fun. So thank you so much again. And we'll be back in the next couple of weeks, in 2 weeks, and just felt that like 9 o'clock was maybe a better time for folks. So and people did like show up like right at 9. Yeah. So I think that might work out for everybody. 9 p.m. EST where we are. So hopefully that works for everybody, and we'll do the movies thing and the song thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle is saying, I never wanted to live with regret of what I didn't do, so I did as much as possible. Now just slowing down, but still ridiculous social butterfly. That's so great that you are. I'm more of an introvert, believe it or not. And I do get tired with like a lot of social things, but I'm certainly like just since I've been diagnosed, it's been just being able to connect with so many people and having so much good vibes and care and love that's just been sent our way and my way has meant so much to me. And I also feel has had such a big impact on how I've been so far. And so to be able to continue that for me is a really important thing. Karma says, great to see your beautiful smile. Thank you so much, Karma. I wish we could see everybody. It's in some ways it's kind of funny that here we are, you know, like the two, those of you out there like just watching us, and hopefully you're enjoying these times that we're spending together. Again, like it means so much. So thank you. And Kyle says, much positive love and vibes and such to you, Joe. There, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. So that was so much fun.
3 hours and 30 minutes.
That's wow. It's like writing but yeah, marathon, but really cool. So cool. Thank you again, everyone. Hope you know, have a good rest of the evening and rest up and have a wonderful sleep. And I hope you join us in again 2 weeks time, and we will be doing fun things all over again.
Yeah. Bye. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, and I hope everyone had a really great Thanksgiving as well. Good night.
Good night.